3, 4, 5, 6.
Six, 7, 8, 9, 10.
meine Damen und Herren, das war die Flaggenparade aller Teilnehmer Nationen beim großen Mobilitätspreis von Deutschland hier auf der Hockenheim-Bund. Und so ganz allmählich geht es jetzt in die spannende Phase des Countdown hinein. Wir hatten 13 Uhr und 9 Minuten mit dem Startpunkt hier, also noch 51 Minuten.
Time for the German Grand Prix.
Irvine winning in '99, the German Grand Prix provided rich pickings for British drivers. Stewart, Surtees, Moss, the Hills and the Hunt of all triumphs, and today David Coulthard tries to join the club. Well, welcome to Hockenheim. It has been dry all day. Those clouds have a habit of dumping a lot of heavy stuff very quickly indeed. 21 degrees the temperature, 26 degrees on the track, and showers are forecast. Good afternoon to you all. Well, one good thing about the totally unpredictable weather here was that it provided us with a very unusual and perhaps the most dramatic qualifying hour of the season. We saw a real cavalry charge at the start and a fantastic twist in the tail as well. Martin Brundle reporting.
The weather in Germany has been no better than for the British Grand Prix. The crowds arrived well prepared, and good job they did too. Look at the rain coming down just a few minutes before qualifying would start. A traffic jam at the end of the pit lane, but the good boys that they are, they did not jump the red light, but they all needed to get out as soon as the green light came on. Away they go. They know they could have just one flying lap of the afternoon to get a grid position in. But they also needed a clear lap, and Frentzen in the yellow Jordan appears to blatantly jump the first chicane to get track position. He said it was to avoid the tyre smoking incident ahead of him. The stewards said otherwise, and they took away his fastest lap of the afternoon.
Well, I didn't have any time advantage from that because it wasn't a timed lap, and I don't see where is the advantage of that anyway to take my quickest time away.
Fisichella threw away his early chance by spinning the Benetton on the exit of the first corner. He would get a second chance. Barrichello's Ferrari broke down electrical problems. He was on wet tyres too. When he got back to the pits, he found no Ferrari waiting for him. Michael was already out in the spare car. Meanwhile, Coulthard was on some kind of magnificent lap, throwing caution to the wind for pole position.
I can't really say it was getting out there early because we were in the train, but obviously just got a clear lap, and I'm very happy with this, even though it wasn't a proper solid qualifying.
Barrichello had to hang around while they fixed Michael Schumacher's bent car from the morning. There's Barrichello's car still stranded out on the racetrack. He would get a second chance though, and so did Fisichella. Found a window of opportunity just as the track was drying slightly about 20 minutes in. A brilliant lap for second position at that time.
When my engineers they called me to say you are second, I didn't believe that, but I was quite confident to do well. A second position, I was very surprised.
And straight after Fisichella's effort, this happened. Poor old Barrichello now has huge pressure. He's in Michael Schumacher's car, he's not yet in the race, and the track is saturated. He would end up P18.
the mechanics did a great job to make it survive. I mean, you never know. The car was a little bit not in perfect shape with the setup, but at least they were able to put my pedals on it, and they left Michael's setup. So, but I would put the 90% of my problems in qualify was down to traffic.
Frentzen may be a German star racing in Germany, but they cut him no slack whatsoever as he's pulled into the weighbridge yet again. Frentzen will start the race in 17th place. Eddie Jordan not at all happy. Coulthard, the angelic man, sitting there waiting to see if he can stay on pole. Hakkinen's trying to snatch that away, but it's too wet in the last part of the lap, and he will stay in 4th place. But somehow Michael Schumacher, putting extra downforce on the car, found some grip and did a magnificent time for 2nd on the grid, much to the delight of the crowd and the Ferrari team. And he will start alongside championship rival David Coulthard on the front row for this afternoon's Grand Prix.
I was lucky to get it right, but I wasn't honestly thinking I would do it. As I saw the first lap being a 47.8, I think I did, I thought, well, maybe I at least can jump the two in front of me, and so it was.
How did he do that? The big question around the circuit here at Hockenheim yesterday. Delighted to welcome alongside Tony Jardy and Craig Pollock, team boss of British American Racing. Hi, Craig.
Hi.
Bit of a lottery, wasn't it, qualifying, and your two, perhaps the numbers didn't come up too well.
Well, we're a little bit disappointed, but it is a lottery. It's the same thing for everybody out there. They get exactly the same weather, and it's a question of choosing the right time to go out and make sure you get the grid position. We just didn't quite do it yesterday.
We're going to talk more about it a bit later on, but congratulations on a piece of business. You have secured the services of Jacques Villeneuve for the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's good news. I didn't negotiate the contract.
You didn't negotiate?
I did not. No, our chief operating officer negotiated the contract because it would have been a little bit of a conflict of interest. I'm too close to Jacques. It took a long time to do. It took 4 months of negotiating, but I know everybody back at the factory who've been working so hard to improve our performance. They're very, very happy people now.
Okay, Tony, let's talk about the qualifying hour, shall we? The big two at the front, Coulthard and Schumacher, and it could be lively down the back as well.
Well, I mean, Schumacher would love it if it was wet, because he's got to try and take the shine off this McLaren performance. They've honed their aerodynamics, they've done the mapping on the Mercedes engine, and Ferrari are meant to be slightly behind. We'll find out. Ferrari's very good in race trim, but Schumacher's going to be quick here anyway. The home crowd, it's a race he desperately wants to win. He wasn't here last year, he was lying in Switzerland watching it from his bedroom, I think. But it should be a great race, and those two are very brave out at the front. Incredibly brave in those circumstances, because they didn't know how wet it was.
David Coulthard also quickest in the morning warm-up, but Tony, just chat us through the grid, could you?
Yeah, well, Coulthard to say it was a real Braveheart performance there, but the man alongside him who desperately wants to win has been practicing his start, says he doesn't take David Coulthard seriously, so there's a nice recipe from the front. Fisichella, great timing, tremendous timing, and best grid position for Benetton so far this year. Hakkinen, they said, too cautious. Della Rosa, his best ever. That guy's improving with every race. Truly did well. Wirtz said he had a clear lap for the first time, good balance, and both the Jaguars in the top 10 because they went out early with everybody. Villeneuve had to take the spare car, but he did very well. Honda have got this revised engine here. Verstappen, Zonta again up there. He's been improving last 3 races. Heidfeld went out at the same time as Verstappen. Ralf Schumacher lost on his settings apparently. Button was affected by Fisichella, spun in front of him. That's why he's back there. Then Frentzen, as we saw earlier, had been adjudged to go the wrong side of the chicane, getting ahead of 2 people. Barrichello, we know he had to go back there. Deniz back there. Then Mazzacane and Genet in the 2 Minardis at the back of the grid.
Thanks very much indeed, Tony. So then, Jacques Villeneuve, the 1997 world champion, will be staying at British American Racing for the next 3 years. The Formula 1 grapevine had been buzzing with stories that the Canadian was on his way. Not so. Louise Goodman reporting.
After weeks of speculation, Jacques Villeneuve has turned down an offer from Benetton and re-signed for BAR in a deal rumoured to be worth $25 million a year.
It wasn't easy because there were other good options. So it wasn't easy at all, mostly after 2 difficult years where promises of before the first contract didn't really come through. The team has been progressing a lot and the fruits are starting to happen now in the last few races, and it's still happening. Honda's putting a lot of effort. The team is putting a lot of effort into it as well. And I knew what I had here when I would have been going to promises.
Now BAR have to keep their promises and deliver wins, or Villeneuve's free to leave.
The team has to be performant. If the team is not performant, then I will walk away.
Giancarlo Fisichella's seat at Benetton now looks to be safe. He's expected to re-sign with the team for a 4th consecutive season. And Williams refugee Jenson Button has been talking to Benetton boss Flavio Briatore about the 2nd seat.
Jenson is good, he's very promising this season. I believe for the first seat done very good job. But you know, there's a lot of people around him, and I don't like this kind of situation, because what you have is only the prices go up, and sometimes the volume is not that, you know. Let's see.
McLaren test driver Olivier Panis has also been linked to Benetton, although he's more likely to join Villeneuve at BAR. Johnny Herbert's off to America looking for a career in champ cars. Jenson Button's a possible replacement at Jaguar, but Scotsman Dario Fanchitti is favourite to get the drive. He tested the car at Silverstone last week.
We're choosing not to say anything about what our driver plans are for next year, so I won't say anything more than I've already said. But on the matter of Dario, I think he did as much as could reasonably have been expected given the circumstances of the test.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen had been talking to Jaguar, but he's opted to stay put and signed a new 2-year deal with Jordan Honda.
OK then, Craig, quite a few people are surprised that Jacques Villeneuve has decided to stay with a sort of down-table team, if I can put it that way, and not move on.
Good.
How do you react to that?
Well, I don't know why they would be surprised. Jacques started to say in the press conference that he'd had certain promises that weren't kept. That was that we expect to be far more performant, as I think Jacques used that word.
Performant was the word,
That comes
yeah.
from performant in French. It's a direct translation. Our performance has actually been pretty bad in the first year, but it's not because we're bad people or a bad team. The team has just taken a long time to build up, and a lot of effort's been put into it. And the promises that have been made are not promises this year. What we're doing is we're saying, by this time we're going to do this, by this time we'll do that. Our design office has improved. Everything has improved inside the team. The way we produce the parts have improved. The way the team works together has improved. And that's what he's meaning by these promises.
You see, I think people believe that Villeneuve is one of the best around. He has been a world champion. We've got a couple of little facts and figures to show you here that compares his career, really. Well, that's at Williams. I know they have been around for ages, and BAR have only been around a couple of years, but look at that. 49 races, 37 finishes, 11 wins, and the World Championship, and 180 points. BAR, and those figures really speak for themselves, don't they? 26, just 11 finishes, 4 with points, the best of 4th, a total of 11 and 44 races since Jacques last won a Grand Prix. And out there, they say, well, he's not going to win with you.
I think they're wrong. Certainly this year to win is going to be very difficult because the strength of McLaren and Ferrari is undoubtable. And what we have to do, if you take a look at McLaren and Ferrari, the 2nd position has 88 points today, and the 3rd position has
huge gap.
19 points. There's 70 points difference. And what we have to do is we have to fight our way up into 4th place, then into 3rd place. But even in 3rd place in the championship, to try and win a race against McLaren and Ferrari, that's the problem. So I wouldn't say the problem really lies with British American racing and winning.
I know you're a good pal of his, but you're absolutely convinced that Jacques Villeneuve still has the desire, the ambition to win. He's not just cruising and collecting.
It's been a long time since his last drink and he's getting very thirsty. He desperately wants that, and that's why he signed with us. He believes that the partnership with Honda is very positive. He believes in what we're telling him because he actually sees the results. The way we have come up since Magny-Cours has been pretty impressive. Normally I would be sitting down in the back of the paddock in the 11th place and not say too much, but I seriously believe in British American racing and everybody is there.
What about your other driver, the 2nd driver in the team? I mean, Louise mentioned Panis, and Button has had a little...
a 2nd driver called Ricardo Zonta.
Next year as well?
I didn't say that. No, Ricardo has to perform, and at the moment we're keeping our options open, a little bit like Neil Ressler. We're not prepared to announce who we're going to sign up for next year, whether it's going to be Ricardo or whether it's going to be one of the young hopefuls or Olivier Panis or whoever.
All right, I've just got a little feeling about Jenson Button. I think that, as has been suggested, he will in fact be on his way to Benetton for the next couple of years. will be powered by those Renault engines, and I feel come what may that Jenson Button will be around in Formula One for a very long time to come. Watch this space anyway for that. Check the latest standing, shall we? Let's read up just from your benefit. Craig, Jacques Villeneuve, there you go, 7th place, and 11 more points, as you pointed out, than BAR scored throughout last year. Ralf Schumacher with 14, Fisichella, he's got all 18 for Benetton on the second row today. Barrichello only just managed to get into the race. Hakkinen starting next to Fisichella, and Coulthard on pole ahead of Schumacher. Schumacher carrying massive home support. Change at the top of the constructors after McLaren lost 10 points for a technical infringement in Austria, so Ferrari now 4 points clear. Williams and Benetton scrapping for third, and a single point also separating BAR and Jordan. Well, losing those points has intensified the ill feeling between the big two, McLaren and Ferrari. Michael Schumacher's starting manoeuvre, another bone of contention. James Allen has this.
After the steady escalation of tension between David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher over the German start-line tactics, it's ironic that the two should find themselves together on the front row today. Coulthard has again succeeded in drawing attention to the issue and putting pressure on Schumacher this weekend. And with the FIA's Charlie Whiting refusing to issue a firm ruling on the matter, there is a possibility that Coulthard and his supporters Eddie Irvine and Jacques Villeneuve might file a protest with the stewards if Schumacher does it again. Those three drivers have also questioned Schumacher's position as head of the Drivers' Association, but at least Rubens Barrichello is backing his teammate.
If Michael goes off the GPDA, that won't survive. He is the one of the few guys who does things, you know, comes to the racetracks and look for more safety, and you know, I see that as people just implicating with something wrong.
Coulthard says the tension can only add to the drama.
Yeah, but that's Formula One. We all want to win, and the stakes are high, and therefore it gets everyone, you know, really close to the limit. But that's part of the appeal.
McLaren and Ferrari are at each other's throats over another issue. When Mika Häkkinen's winning car in Austria was found to have an FIA seal missing on its electronics box, Ferrari boss Jean Todt wrote a letter to the stewards asking for the car to be disqualified. McLaren are livid.
This was a matter between the stewards of the meeting representing the FIA and the team, and there just isn't a protocol for another team to become involved. So this was just sort of blatant lobbying, which I found pretty distasteful.
If you do remember well, we had some problem in the past with some teams all present at the hearing or putting in evidence things which would have been much easier to raise before the start of the race, so it was just aggravation. And I mean, when we knew about the problem which occurred to the other competitors in Austria, we just wanted to have a clarified situation, and we were not there. You know, we just asked for clarification, that's all.
Having blanked in 3 of the last 4 races with Schumacher, Ferrari has brought the largest ever team to a Grand Prix meeting. 64 technicians are here to get the cars through the weekend. In contrast, when Jody Scheckter won Ferrari's last world title in 1979, the team had just 20 people. Schumacher will be hoping his army can help him set the seal on another important victory today.
So Ferrari very keen to do well here, Craig, but you've got to sort of stand back and take an impartial look at things. Where do you stand in that ruck between the big two?
Well, we don't really get involved between the big two, but I just find it extremely unusual how, in the ruling, if you can take the points away from the team because of a potential breach or because of cheating, how the driver can actually retain these points. You're either clean and innocent or you're not. And to retain the driver's standings but not the constructor's standings, I don't particularly understand the logic behind that. I certainly don't want to get in between the two big teams. What we are trying to do from our perspective as British American Racing, the new boys on the block, the young kids, is actually try and step up there with them and be part of them.
And the way that Michael Schumacher starts a race?
Normally very well, but he is capable, and he's shown this with Jacques when Jacques won his championship. He's capable of making certain moves. And the problem is that he gets away with it. The sport doesn't do anything about it, and what he did with David Coulthard was, in my mind, incorrect. And certainly I know that if he goes anywhere near Villeneuve in the same sort of move, it will not be tolerate it.
I think we get the gist of what you're saying. Tony, David Coulthard's ahead of him. He starts on pole, and he's gone very well in warm-up, but he had a moment there this morning, didn't he?
Yeah, he still remained fastest, but the thing is, he's in the race setup now, and you know, he's got the fuel load on that he's going to go in the first stint, whatever, and he's on the edge, he's on the limit. He just got slightly offline, and he got off on the dust. He went off in the same place that Michael Schumacher went off yesterday morning in practice session. Just a gentle nudge of the tyre barriers there, so I think he'll be okay.
OK, Tony, thank you very much indeed. Well, the Ferrari haven't done all that well here at Hockenheim in recent times, but they can draw great encouragement from their performance here last year when David Coulthard was, well, a bit off-key.
Mika Häkkinen gets away well, so does Frentzen, slots into second place, and Salo is sprinting up on the left and taking second position. Ferrari, and off goes Pedro Diniz into the tyre barrier. Barrichello goes through and takes Heinz-Harald Frentzen and fourth position.
Oh no, that's a bit of Coulthard's front wing gone missing.
And the McLaren mechanics are out of the pit lane. There is the new nose, which is going to go onto David Coulthard's car. Into the garage goes Rubens Barrichello out of the race.
That's a novel way to overtake somebody, David. David deciding, I'm going to outbrake you somewhere, somehow. I'm coming through, get out of my way. There's a fuel rig problem here at McLaren. They're having to change over to Coulthard's fuel rig, look. Salo leads the German Grand Prix, pursued by Irvine and Frentzen.
Mika Häkkinen collides and into the tyres just as Michael Schumacher did at Silverstone. Out of the race, no points. And meantime, Eddie Irvine has got ahead of Mika Salo into the lead. Eddie Irvine wins in Germany for Ferrari, his second successive victory, his third of the year.
Well, this time round, we're going to be watching the start of the German Grand Prix very closely indeed. As Craig there has been saying, the likes of Villeneuve, Coulthard and Irvine have all had a pop at Michael Schumacher's starting tactics. They call them unethical, even dangerous. But last time round in Austria, Schumacher himself was punted off just moments after the start. If you talk to Schumacher, though, he can't see a problem, so long as Charlie says it is OK. Who is Charlie? Well, he's the subject of today's Murray Meets.
Formula One is an enormously complicated and technical sport where fractions of a millimetre count and where massively funded teams try to beat each other and the system. Now, the man who's responsible for making the system work is the FIA's race director, Charlie Whiting, and we're here in race control at Hockenheim. But Charlie, tell me, what do you do before the race at the actual racetrack?
Before the race, Murray, well, I usually arrive on a Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning. First job is to inspect the track, make sure that the track is how we asked it to be from the previous year's report. We do an inspection probably on Wednesday morning, and I'd meet with the clerk of the course. He's the guy that looks after all the marshals, tells all the marshals what to do. Then we meet with him, discuss regulation changes, things like that, and general running procedures for the event. Then obviously I get involved with the scrutineering of all the cars. That usually takes place on a Thursday. Then we have what we call a sort of final systems check between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock on a Thursday. We run safety car and medical car around at high speed.
Do you go in it?
I don't know. I sit here in race control.
Right.
Far too tricky for me, that one. Now we just sit here, we make sure everything's working properly, timing, cameras, television, the pit speeds, start lights, jump start systems.
Now you've got this ultimate responsibility of getting 22 800 horsepower cars off the line to start the race. Tell me about that.
first of all, when the cars come back at the end of the formation lap, you have to make sure they're all in the right position. We have electronic means of knowing that with jump start sensors in the ground, etc. Then I have to make sure they're all in position and then start the countdown.
Is it computerised or is it whiting?
No, it's me. I press the button.
You physically look at it, decide it's ready to go.
The red lights come on by themselves, and then after a suitable time, we start it.
And when the race is on,
yes.
you lie back and take it easy, do you?
Yes, very relaxing normally.
Come on, what's going on?
After a couple of laps, I stay down at the starting position there for a couple of laps, then run up to race control and sit here and just watch the race and make sure everything gets done properly.
You've got about 16 or 18 screens here showing you the whole circuit. And do you watch the race or are you watching the screens to look for incidents?
No, we watch the screens. Here, for example, we'll have cameras focusing on the chicanes to make sure cars don't cut the chicanes and things like that. Then we'd have to look, if a car did cut a chicane, we'd have to look and see if it gained any advantage from doing it, things like that.
Everybody's going on these days about wanting to see more passing in Formula One. I mean, do you think it is actually feasible? Is there a system or car design that would make that possible?
I think, as usual in Formula One, it's a combination of many things. I don't think it's one simple answer to it, like changing the tyres, changing the wings. I think you would need to look at an entire package, including the circuits. So it's far from simple, and I think, in a nutshell, if it was easy, teams would do it because they would love to pass other cars. If it's that simple, but it's not. But we've talked about it at length, obviously, in technical meetings and with team principals, and don't think anyone has the answer. But I have some ideas which are probably best not to share with you just at the moment.
Meantime, have a good race.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Start of the German Grand Prix, just over 15 minutes away. Let's have a quick word with Rubens Barrichello. He's with Louise.
Very much, Jim. Thanks, Jim. Rubens, not a brilliant qualifying session yesterday, but I mean, you are where you are, back here. At least overtaking is quite easy here, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's...
for a man of your talent.
I would rather happen here than Hungary, for sure. So, you know, the car is as good as if I was on the first row, and there's no exception. We have to try a few bits and just to see where I can finish.
There's talk of rain this afternoon. What's this place like in the wet from a driver's point of view?
The problem is the visibility. It's completely zero. So if it happens, I hope it happens in the middle of the motordrome, but not on the straights.
Well, have a good race, Rubens. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Rubens Barrichello coming off the worst qualifying performance of the year for him. Now, before you pop back over the circuit, we've taken a couple of Deutschmarks off you here. You've been a little fun bet without the big two, and you've got Villeneuve to get up there on the podium. You sure about that?
No, I'm not sure about that, but where's my money going to go? We're paying the kids so much, I may as well lose some more money. Now, I think that in Austria, we finished 4th and we fell back to 15th. So if we finish 4th, falling back to 15th, Barrichello behind, then the next place up is 3rd. So we've got to at least look at 3rd and just hope the weather holds out.
It is apparently just started to spit with rain. What is your reaction to that?
Get me an umbrella.
You've got to go back through that tunnel that was flooded a couple of days ago. So,
if it is raining, then it's down to strategy, and let's just hope that we don't make the same mistake that we made, or stupid mistake we made in Canada. We can do it the same as any other team can. Both drivers are good, and the team's good enough to do it.
Craig, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Jim.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Well, there we are. There they are. Threatening again, the old Hockenheim clouds. Dry at the moment, 23 degrees on the track, 21 degrees the air temperature. But my bet is it's going to rain. But when you rejoin us, we'll take you round Hockenheim in a Ferrari.
von Wichtiges und sympathisches Signal für den Motorsport. Ich danke allen Teams, Fahrern, Funktionären,
Sean Lays, I don't think you've ever been unlucky enough to qualify this far back, but with a bit of rain, could you make something out of this race?
It's what I'm looking for anyway, even if it's extremely dangerous with this high-speed circuit. But to get the results, I just need to believe in God for the rain.
Now, with this in mind, have you perhaps taken a gamble and gone for a wet edge to your setup?
It's not completely a wet setup because it's difficult to do it. But I think if it's raining, the car is okay.
Thank you very much.
85 miles an hour and down to turn one. The magnificent grandstands on the left, brake down to just 120 in fourth gear. Get back on the power, sweep to the outside, and you're on your way into the countryside. You're going to build up to something around 220 miles an hour. Stay to the left, it's bumpy on the inside. And gently sweeping round to the right, you're starting to look for your braking point into turn one. Remember, 220 and down to just 60 miles an hour in second gear now. 70 through the left-hander. Ride the curb on the exit. Again, very, very bumpy in the traction area. And then move immediately to the left-hand side of the track, building up once again to 212 miles an hour as you head down to the Ost curve. Bumpy again under braking. Look, it looks like a cul-de-sac as you go in. Do not go straight on. Turn right at just 60 again. And now sweeping through the exit of that Ost curve, 135 miles an hour already. Walk the car to the white line on the left. Now building up to 215 miles an hour once again. Top gear, of course, as you head towards the Ayrton Senna chicane. Underneath the bridge, brake very, very hard. Left over the curb, 70 miles an hour. Curb again on the right. Now ride the curb on the exit. It hurts your back as you jump off. Barrichello a little slow with the gear shift there, hitting the rev limiter. Stay right, it's a little bumpy. Now sweep over to the left. You've got the stadium ahead, 205 miles an hour. The first right-hander always surprises you. Turn 11, 140 miles an hour, bit of extra tarmac on the exit you can use. Heading down now towards the Sachs curve, just 60 miles an hour. Very easy to outbrake yourself on the way in. Hug the inside, get back on the power. Up to 140 miles an hour already through the chicane. Bleed the speed down to 110. The car will slide from the front, but stay with it. The last corner ahead of you, it's absolutely critical. The Nord curve, 120 miles an hour. Slingshot into the start-finish line once again.
Last year, most of the front runners divided this race into two halves with a stop right in the middle. But the temperatures were a lot higher then, and the tyre degradation was very bad too. This year, it isn't. So I expect to see most of them fill the car up to the gunnels and go as far as they can, which is about lap 27 or 28. Now, the gap between McLaren, Ferrari and the rest of the field is so enormous that the top two can actually afford to take a gamble on a two-stop strategy. And if it doesn't pay off for them, the worst that's going to happen is they'll still be third or fourth. Michael Schumacher did it successfully in Brazil. He was trying to do it again 2 weeks ago in Austria, and he may try it here this afternoon, although it's a bit risky here because you have to be able to carve your way through the traffic. My hunch says he probably won't. But two men who almost certainly will try it are Rubens Barrichello and Heinz-Harald Frentzen, down in 17th and 18th on the grid. They've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by going on the attack. Should be a very interesting tactical battle this afternoon.
Thanks very much indeed, James. The clouds are closing in overhead. Michael Schumacher has never won here in a Ferrari, but he was first for Benetton in 1995, and it really is a fascinating prospect, this one. The three World Championship contenders are all up front. We have Britain's David Coulthard on pole, saying, I want those 10 points. The championship leader, Michael Schumacher, right alongside. I am very, very confident, is the German's message to Coulthard, and right behind world champion Mika Häkkinen, back to his very best. Stick around for the German Grand Prix.
That means also that lots of cars will fall off, and I try not to be one.
Mika, thanks very much.
Gerhard Berger, what advice were you giving to young Jenson Button just now?
It's my secret and his secret.
This is a circuit that you love very much and you won here with Benetton. So are you going to be sad if it starts raining? Will that be bad?
No, I think where we are in the starting grid, the rain could be something helping our situation a bit. I mean, it's difficult here in the rain, but if it's dry, we're going to have very little chances to get into the points. So I think it's more risk, but if it would be up to me, I would take the risk.
Okay, thank you very much and good luck, Gareth.
Pat Simmons, normally this is a fuel them up, stop them once and hope for the best. How is the rain going to affect that?
Well, I don't think we're really expecting any heavy rain. In some ways, it's a bit more tricky. It's just going to be showers. I think we've just got to see what happens, really.
Do you think we'll have a repeat of Donington Park all those years ago with 7 stops each?
I hope not.
Thanks, Pat.
It is the German Grand Prix at sold-out Hockenheim. Over 100,000 people packed into the stadium section. Klaxons and firecrackers at the ready, primed to celebrate a Michael Schumacher victory. But the championship leader has to get past the pole sitter, Britain's David Coulthard. Let's join Martin Brundle and say a very good afternoon to Murray. Murray Walker.
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, this is very literally the calm before the storm. It's all quiet down on the grid. The drivers are there, the mechanics are there. Those people who are privileged to be with them will soon be moved away. When I say it's the quiet before the storm, it could be in two ways. First of all, the storm of the race itself, and then the big question mark, is there going to be a storm weather-wise? Certainly not, we hope, like Friday, because that was quite incredible. The pits were awash with water. The tunnel, which joined the far side of the track to the paddock, was 4 feet deep in water. It took the combined efforts of all the fire brigades around here a long time to get the water clear. And we know that there's a possibility of rain this afternoon. And this place is very, very dangerous indeed when it's wet, because the course goes slashing its way through dense pine forest once they've turned out of the stadium section that you're looking at now. And those tall pines hold the water. The wind can't get through to clear the droplets away, and visibility is virtually nil. Martin, you've done it.
Yes, it's, I have to say, Hockenheim in the rain. It's you know how much I miss driving. It's one of the few days where I'd rather be up here cuddling you, Murray, than on the grid or in a Formula 1 car, but don't take that the wrong way. And I've spoken to 3 teams down on the grid, and anywhere between 20 past the hour and 22 is when they're expecting it to rain. So 20 past 2 here locally, up to 20 to 3. They're expecting it to be spitting with rain lightly at the beginning of the race, which it is indeed doing as we speak, but very, very lightly. We've got a track temperature of 21 degrees centigrade, so it just burns away quite quickly. And we think that Coulthard and Schumacher at least have added extra wing on the grid to allow for it. And I think the teams will also add a bit of fuel, Murray, to try to give themselves a bigger window of when they can take that pit stop to adjust it according to the rain, if indeed all these weather forecasts are right and it does rain later on. I'd imagine them coming in around lap 25-ish. The safety car leaves the grid now, which is all part of the procedure. That will go around to the back, and so we know that there are no hindrances around the track, and the procedure is well underway to get this German Grand Prix going, Murray.
It's quite ironic that the man who has been complaining so much about Michael Schumacher cutting across him at the start of races, and particularly the Austrian Grand Prix, David Coulthard, is in pole position. And next to him, or at least just a little bit further back on the front row, is the man he's been complaining about, Michael Schumacher. So again, we've got McLaren in pole position. It's the 10th time that David Coulthard will have started from pole position in his career. And just there you see Michael Schumacher, who's got more pole positions of the current drivers than anyone else, 27 of them, and Mika Häkkinen, the man who is 3rd in the World Championship and who Michael Schumacher still insists on regarding as his chief rival for the World Championship, notwithstanding the fact that David Coulthard is 6 points behind him and Häkkinen there is 8 points behind him. Häkkinen in 4th position on the grid.
Now, I heard a Porsche driver saying from the Porsche Super Cup race earlier on today, who started on the right-hand side of the grid, Bernd Mailander, who's actually also the safety car driver in Formula 1, heard him saying it's incredibly slippery on the right-hand side. There's a lot of debris, a lot of tyre rubber. That is a part of the track that is simply not used here at Hockenheim. That's the left-hand side you're looking at from Fisichella's car on the 2nd row. Michael Schumacher there is on the right-hand side of the grid, and he said there's so little grip over there, you just never come down there, because it's such a fast turn 1 here shortly afterwards. So all the running done down the left-hand side, but that won't necessarily stop Michael Schumacher from getting away well.
Well, watch those lights. This is not the race start, of course. This is the formation lap.
Yeah, we've got a stall.
Car stalled on the grid there, right at the back. It looks like Jenson Button to me. It is indeed Jenson Button's Williams He's stalled on the grid, and as everybody has passed him, that means to say that he will have to join from the back. He may even have to start from the pit lane if they don't get the car going quickly.
Yeah, sort of thing I'd have expected Jensen to do early on, but not this far into the season. But it may not have been his fault. Sometimes the clutch clearance is so tiny on these cars, and if it drags a little bit, you pop it into first gear and it just kills the engine. There's a tiny, tiny flywheel on these Formula 1 engines that rev to the best part of 18,000 RPM. And they're so easy to stall. But Button away, as you say, Murray, he can catch the field up very easily. That's no problem, as long as he knows the rule book that he must stay at the back. And I'm sure the Williams team will be reminding him of that.
Yeah, now there's two things to watch in this race in particular. There's the race at the front, of course, Coulthard, Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, and hopefully Fisichella up there in the Benetton. There he is. And I remind you that starting from 17th position is Heinz Harald Frentzen, who was on the front row of the grid in the Jordan last year and finished third in the race. And in 18th position is the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. And they're going to be scything their way through the field, probably on a very, very light fuel load.
Yes, I think Fisichella there in third place on the grid could be a thorn into the side of Häkkinen. Häkkinen, who also starts from the right-hand side, the supposedly slippery side, really must leapfrog Fisichella early on. And Mika was talking to me just 45 minutes ago saying, what do you think's going to happen? You know, how do you think those guys are going to get away on the left-hand side of the grid? So I think it's quite a concern for Mika that if he gets tucked up behind the Benetton, then Coulthard and Michael Schumacher can scamper off into the distance.
And the sun is well and truly out now. The track temperature has risen just a little bit, so that's a good sign. Let's hope it's a dry race. It makes so much difference to everybody, and particularly here at Hockenheim.
Yes, it summed up the whole weekend when, with the umbrellas on the grid. One moment they were covering the drivers from spitting rain, and then it was beating down sunshine that the umbrellas were for.
So we were with Fisichella there on car camera. Be nice if we could have a ride with Frentzen or Barrichello, particularly Barrichello, because he's got an on-car camera, and it'll be interesting to see him fighting his way through the field. So they line up now in the usual 11 rows, two cars. The left-hand side of the grid is the pole position, and there is the man in pole position for this 45-lap race, David Coulthard. The Ferrari pit, the garage, and they're all getting into line now.
Yes, I noticed Coulthard hasn't pointed his car towards the Ferrari at all. He's expecting, I would imagine, to stay down the left-hand side of the track and not have to go over and cover his line against Michael Schumacher. It's crucial how they all get away.
3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and in Germany, it is go! Down there as well, that must be Rubens Barrichello. That must be Rubens Barrichello, or it's Schumacher. It's Schumacher. Incredible. And Fisichella. They started third and second on the grid, and Michael Schumacher is out of the race before it's hardly begun, and the McLarens are already first and second, with the Frentzen and with the Jordan of Jarno Trulli up in third position. An incredible development, and Michael Schumacher is again going to score no World Championship points.
And it's such a long lap here, the second longest lap of the year. They'll easily be able to clear those cars before the pack gets around for the first complete flying lap of the day. Those cars will be cleared out of the way. Disaster for Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, but Rubens Barrichello is already slashing his way through the field, and Fisichella and Schumacher talk to each other as we look down on this 200-mile-an-hour plus straight. Rubens Barrichello, there he is. You just saw him coming towards us in the Ferrari. It's McLaren leading, McLaren in second place, the Jordan in third position, and the lead driver is Mika Häkkinen with David Coulthard tucked under his gearbox, and De La Rosa in the Arrows, who's been going so well, is in fourth position, and the two Jaguars of Eddie Irvine and Johnny Herbert are up there, both of them in the points, 5th and 6th at the moment.
Yes, unless Herbert's past Villeneuve, Herbert's 7th according to the screens, but Häkkinen got a flying start. Michael got away well too, but seemed to stutter. Yellow flags are out on the start-finish line here, just to tell the driver, wave yellows to tell the drivers they're recovering those cars. No sign of a safety car, no sign of a red flag, and Michael Schumacher is out of the race for sure.
And Barrichello has already gained 8 places. He's up from 18th on the grid to 10th. 2 of those, there he is, pulling out, you see, and passing Zonta in the BAR, coming up behind Jacques Villeneuve in the other BAR. For Ferrari now, and for Italy and for Brazil, it's all down to Rubens Barrichello.
And I think I just saw Johnny Herbert passing Irvine too. The Jaguars are running line as third in 5th and 6th. They did clear Villeneuve, as has Verstappen now, who's 8th. But yes, Johnny Herbert now, the leading Jaguar in 5th place.
But look, you see, look at the arrows there surging through. And Jos Verstappen, who started well down through the field, is up into 7th position. These arrows are the revelation of this meeting, because Pedro de la Rosa start...
Here he goes again. Verstappen really in the slipstream there of Irvine. He now has track position. Surely he'll outbrake Irvine. He's passed him already. Verstappen up into 6th.
Yeah, and I reckon Jos Verstappen may be on a 2-stop strategy. This arrows is incredibly quick. It's very, very slippery indeed. The aerodynamics are superb, and the Supertech engine is good. Here's a replay of the start.
Now here we go. Coulthard away moderately well. Schumacher I saw out of the window getting away well, then stuttered, and Häkkinen just drove right through the middle. Now look, Schumacher came across and really blocked Fisichella out. Schuey did not realise Fisichella was there, did not give him any space, and I'm afraid, Michael, you cannot blame that on Fisichella. Look, he's moved across onto his line and then braked, so Fisichella quite late into the corner, but that was at least 50-50. Michael gave him no space.
Yeah, but a lot of the cynics will be saying that's Michael Schumacher's come up and he's had payback time for the things they've been blaming him for in the recent past. But meantime, it's looking great for McLaren, 1st and 2nd. Trulli is 3rd, De La Rosa is 4th, and look at Barrichello. Barrichello out past Eddie Irvine, who is in 7th position, and there we're riding with Barrichello now as Irvine fights back.
Well, that was astonishing. Irvine had more straight line speed, now turns in on Barrichello, which he was entitled to do. But Barrichello got up alongside, and when the drag really cuts in, well over 200 miles an hour, Irvine started pulling ahead.
That Ford engine, the Cosworth engine, has got massive grunt. It's an improved version with more power, and it's certainly showing up here. It looks as though they've got the setup right for the 2 Jaguars, as Rubens Barrichello, that we're riding with now, chases Eddie Irvine's green Jaguar, which is behind Jos Verstappen, and Johnny Herbert is up into 5th place. So Häkkinen, Coulthard, then Trulli, behind him De La Rosa. There is Johnny Herbert, followed by Verstappen and Eddie Irvine. Well, the good news so far for Britain is that the Jaguars are well up.
Yes, and now Barrichello's got a much better run on Irvine earlier on in the straight. Now let's see the drag cut in. Can Barrichello make it stick this time? Yes, he's got the line up the inside. Irvine just falling back down the field at this stage.
And that's Eddie Irvine, of course, who won this race brilliantly for Ferrari last year, thanks to the support of his teammate, Mika Salo, who was replacing Michael Schumacher after the German had broken his leg in Britain. Coming through now to complete lap 3. Mika Häkkinen leads David Coulthard. The gap between Coulthard and Trulli is 1.3 seconds, but again, as in Austria, Pedro de la Rosa, who was superb in qualifying, is magnificent here. Look at the orange arrows. There's a big gap between it and the green Jaguar of the red-helmeted Johnny Herbert, who's got Verstappen behind him, and Verstappen has got Barrichello ready to pull out and in the Ferrari and try to get up into the top 6. If in the red Ferrari, Barrichello can get past the orange arrows there of Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman, who was not in very good odour this morning because in the warm-up he drove into Jacques Villeneuve's BAR.
Yeah, very silly accident on the outlap first thing this morning, and damaged both the arrows and Villeneuve's BAR quite extensively, and he had to go and apologise, that's for sure. And look, Verstappen again struggling to slow that arrows down. I think they've got tremendous straight line speed, but struggling a little bit into the braking area, and Barrichello lines up his next victim, but this one's got more straight line speed than the Jaguar he's already overtaken of Irvine.
Yeah, and we've learned here that next year Arrows are going to have the Peugeot engine exclusively, and that will do them no harm whatsoever. So they're in great shape, but McLaren are in even better shape because they're on a potential 16 World Championship points at the present moment, with Mika Häkkinen bidding for 10 of them to win the race. But we're now on lap 4. It's a 45-lap race, so we've gone about 1/10th distance, 1/11th distance.
Coulthard on a very fast lap at the moment, edging up a couple of tenths in each section on Mika Häkkinen. Interesting problem here for the McLaren bosses, Murray. They've got 2 drivers that can take the championship, as they had 10 years ago with Senna and Prost. But now, with Schumacher out of the race once again, what are McLaren going to do about their front 2, who are now just 6/10 of a second apart? And truly is hanging on remarkably well there in the Jordan, as is De La Rosa in the arrows behind.
I think Pedro De La Rosa is absolutely magnificent, the young Spaniard. Well, he's 29 years old, but this is only his 26th Grand Prix, and he's in a car which up to now has not been expected to be at the front of a Grand Prix as it is. Now watch Schumacher on the left of this replay. You see there, Häkkinen comes straight between him and Fisichella. Schumacher moves across, hits Fisichella. The Italian goes onto the gravel, into the tyre wall. We're with Fisichella now.
And watch this, enjoy your first Formula 1 accident fully on board as we stay with this camera shot all the way. Here comes the barrier. Look, there's nothing you can do. You're jumping on the brakes, bang! And the tyres and conveyor belt come into the cockpit. Once again we sit. Now watch Häkkinen from 4th place hook it up and just drive beautifully through the middle as Coulthard defends his line, and Schumacher, watching Coulthard, moves across the track and unaware that Fisichella is there. I mean, he should have allowed for that. I really can't think Michael has too much to gripe about as the Ferrari team put their head in their hands.
Yes.
I don't think they can gripe too much about Fisichella there.
That's Willy Weber with his head in his hands, the man who's guided the career of Michael Schumacher. He's the only team manager to have his own Learjet. Plenty of the drivers do, but Schumacher is so wealthy that even on 20% of his income, Weber can run a Learjet. Now look at this.
This will be Barrichello, I assume, overtaking Verstappen, and he makes it stick into the second chicane. So Barrichello now is up to 6th place.
From 18th, he's made 12 places on this, the 6th lap. James Allen?
Murray, you saw the Ferrari mechanics there with their heads in their hands, completely contrasting reaction of McLaren. They feel that's payback time for what Schumacher did to Coulthard and Häkkinen at the start in France. They've had this terrible farrago between them, and Coulthard taught Schumacher a lesson in the toughest possible terms. They're absolutely ecstatic down here.
Well wide, and he's now up into 4th place, and Herbert has got De La Rosa behind him in 6th position. Nigel Stepney on the right. Now, there goes Herbert, and leading them both is Barrichello, so he's up into 4th and attacking again. De La Rosa having a go at Herbert.
That's Verstappen having a go at Herbert, and Johnny was on the defensive. I think Barrichello surprised him at the inside into the first chicane. Textbook manoeuvre there from Rubens Barrichello. Brilliant driving at the moment, and Johnny then on the defensive. It gave Verstappen a run at him. Johnny managed to fend that one off, and look how quick, and Verstappen won't get through there now, but look how quick Barrichello is moving away from them.
Yeah, this is an example though of how they slow each other up, because Barrichello was 1.2 seconds slower than Häkkinen and Coulthard with a clear track in front of them, and he is now in that position. There he is, but with Johnny Herbert, Häkkinen leading, Coulthard second, Jarno Trulli still in the Jordan, 2.4 seconds behind David Coulthard, who is 1 second behind Mika Häkkinen. This race has got a long way to go yet. We're on lap 7.
I think there could be a lot of action yet. I saw when we were on board with Barrichello, they were moving the film protecting his camera shot, and it was raining slightly. Remember, it could well still rain in the next half an hour in this race, and I think we could see quite a lottery at that point as to who can stay on the track and if and when they come in. And this is another shot then of Barrichello passing Johnny Herbert into the first chicane. Johnny beginning to turn in and had to turn back out again. Great move there from Rubens.
And Johnny Herbert is still in the points in 6th position. So let's have a quick look at the top 10. It's the 2 McLarens, Häkkinen and Coulthard. Then Jarno Trulli's yellow Jordan. Look for it. It's getting further and further back. There it is in the distance. De La Rosa in the arrows is 4th, and Barrichello is 5th in the Ferrari. 6th is Johnny Herbert, and 7th is Jos Verstappen. Both the arrows in the top 7. Eddie Irvine 8th, Jacques Villeneuve is 9th, and his teammate Ricardo Zonta is 10th. Remember what Craig Pollock was saying about the BARs, they're both in the top 10.
Yes, Barrichello, now he's got some clear air. It'll be interesting to see his lap times, Murray. Remember, he's really only just 11.2 seconds behind Häkkinen, who's leading the race. So Barrichello, if he's got a strong pace, can still come through and do some damage for Ferrari this afternoon.
Yeah, he's closed the gap from 1.2 seconds a lap longer to 0.6 of a second longer. And look at the way he's stretching away now from the powerful Jaguar of Johnny Herbert. There is Jos Verstappen, the Dutchman, behind him. And Tom Walkinshaw will be really delighted at the way his team is going here at Hockenheim.
Johnny sort of launches his Jaguar into the corners, very aggressive turn into almost all the corners around the racetrack. Quite strange, in fact, but it seems to be working for him up there in 6th place.
Now they come out of the stadium. They're turning into the long straight now, which is the start and finish straight, into turn 1. And then the rest of the course is stadium into 4 legs, separated by chicanes, and in each of those legs they're on full throttle for at least 14 seconds.
And there's the answer. Look, Barrichello fastest lap on a 45.3, and the gap now down to 11.1 seconds to Häkkinen. So Barrichello has a very fast Ferrari, but how much fuel does he have on board?
Yeah, exactly. 4th in the World Championship at the moment, behind Mika Häkkinen, Coulthard, and championship leader Michael Schumacher. But I don't think he's going to be leading at the end of this race as we go to a break.
Lap 9, and this is a replay of Heinz-Harald Frentzen surging up from 17th on the grid into the position he's in now, 8th position. And Jos Verstappen has got the Jordan right behind him now. And the men to watch at the moment are Barrichello, who is the fastest man on the track, 5th and catching De La Rosa. There is the second orange arrows, that of Verstappen in 7th place, with Frentzen behind him.
Yes, Frentzen, I see, missed a chicane at some earlier on at 14.06 earlier on the race. If they're going to penalise him, they'll have to penalise him very soon. He looks like he's got away with that at the moment. He's flying through the field. Verstappen in the arrows has lost a major part of his engine cover, which will be affecting the aerodynamics, and it's left debris on the track. Now, it was Verstappen himself that ran over a piece of debris this morning going down towards turn 1, as Frentzen lines himself up and surely can brake late enough to take the line down into the first chicane. Yes, he can. And it was Verstappen who touched a little piece of debris this morning, and his front tyre exploded immediately. It's highly critical round here. Remember that it was Häkkinen who went out of the race last year with a delaminated tyre. The tyres are under severe pressure, and Verstappen's got a problem with that engine cover missing, and now Frentzen is up into 7th place. And here we see from another angle Frentzen getting the track position, getting the line, and not snatching his brakes, taking a good clean run.
Well, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, a German in Germany at Hockenheim, is now in 7th position. His next target is the man in the red helmet and the green Jaguar, Johnny Herbert, who has announced that he's leaving Formula One at the end of this year and going to race in champ cars in America. Is he going to be able to retain his 6th place? I don't think so much longer.
Incredible lineup of cars, isn't it? Look, from Herbert through to all the way through there to Ralph. In fact, Jenson Button in 19th, so you've got from 6th to 19th, pretty much all line astern.
Yeah, so who are they? Herbert 6th, there he is. There is Frentzen behind him. In 7th, then it is Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, Villeneuve and Zonta virtually together, and here is Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari, who's come up from that 18th position. We're riding with him now as he turns out of turn 1, going at 200 miles an hour up to the Clark curve, the right, left, right chicane, closing on Pedro de la Rosa's arrows, hand over fist. This is the V10 Ferrari engine versus the Supertech engine V10 in the Arrows. The Arrows is incredibly quick. At race after race this year on the section times, the Arrows has been the fastest car. But Barrichello now has really got his dander up. He's fought his way through magnificently, and he's coming now into the Ost curve, right at the top of this boomerang-shaped circuit. Through the right, the left, the right again. They exited at about 130 miles an hour and build up to nearly 220 miles an hour as they come down to the centre curve, and there goes Heinz-Harald Frentzen past Johnny Herbert. He's in the points. Frentzen is in the points. His teammate Trulli is in 3rd position. The top 6 from Frentzen upwards are Frentzen 6th, Barrichello and De La Rosa 5th and 4th. Trulli is 3rd. David Coulthard and Hakkinen are still only 1.6 seconds away from each other and nearly 8 seconds ahead of 3rd placed Jarno Trulli. But this race is by no means finished. What strategies are they following? Watch Barrichello. This is the stadium section. They're coming up now to turn 14, the right-hander. They take that at 90 miles an hour, exit it at about 90 miles an hour where they are now, and then accelerate up to nearly 185 miles an hour. There is Trulli, 3rd. Watch Barrichello. So it is the Brazilian against the Spaniard. And Pedro de la Rosa has covered himself in glory in the last couple of races. He's doing so again.
Yes, and look, Barrichello's got a sniff of a slipstream, but we know just how fast that Arrows is in a straight line. But Barrichello, we know, is excellent on the brakes into turn 1, but he can't have a go from there. He'll simply slam into the side of the Arrows. But can he get some traction out now? And, well, that Arrows is really handling well, isn't it? He really hasn't got... Barrichello doesn't have much an advantage over it, but he has clearly got the best braking car on the racetrack at the moment. We'll see how good it is when he gets anywhere near the McLaren.
There he goes.
Look, he's showing it well there, isn't he? Easily through, and that is so bumpy. It doesn't show from anywhere from a camera angle, but it's so bumpy down there into 2. And it looks so easy, and I can't tell you just how hard it is at 210, 215 miles an hour to pick a braking point right alongside another driver trying to do exactly the same thing at the same time.
You are watching a truly, truly great drive by Rubens Barrichello. I say again, he started 18th. He's now in 4th position, and the yellow car is that of Jarno Trulli as we rejoin on a replay. Rubens Barrichello diving up the inside of Pedro de la Rosa, making it look so easy. The Spaniard has to give him room, and Rubens Barrichello maintains his line perfectly. The Ferrari mechanics not looking over impressed, but they jolly well should be. And look at this battle behind them. It's the 2 Jaguars, and Eddie Irvine now is attacking Johnny Herbert as Zonta, Wurz, Deniz, and behind him the 2 Prosts of Alesi and Heidfeld. Nick Heidfeld, by the way, is in 14th position.
Man on the move, Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 6th place, just done a 1:44.9, easily the fastest lap of the race. So it's Frentzen now with the clear air in front of him. Can he catch Pedro de la Rosa, and how quickly? So Frentzen and Barrichello started 17th and 18th. Now up to 4th and 6th and flying.
Yeah, and he's lapping 2 seconds faster than De La Rosa. He's 10 seconds behind him, so in about 5 laps' time, Frentzen, if he keeps going the way he is now, will be right up with the 5th placed Arrows as you look at the German now. 1:44.9, the fastest lap of the race. The fastest lap last year was 1:45.2, so Frentzen is faster this year than David Coulthard, who made the fastest and record lap at Hockenheim was last year. You were looking at the new lap record holder. Here is the race leader, Mika Häkkinen, McLaren, David Coulthard, McLaren. Still just over a second between them on this, the 13th lap, and out goes Johnny Herbert in the Jaguar. Well, Johnny's bad luck seems to stick with him, whatever circuit he is at and whatever country he is in, and the jinx has struck again. He is out of the race, and that means to say up into 8th place goes Eddie Irvine, to 9th place goes Jacques Villeneuve, to 10th place goes Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. His teammate Jenson Button is down in 19th position, having a tremendous battle with Jean Lacy's Prost and Marc Gené's Minardi.
That's one of those moody slow-mo replays they like to show here. That was truly bouncing across the curbs. I don't know if you noticed his rear wheels were completely off the ground. Frentzen is on another flying lap, and a 44.7 this time around. So Frentzen is catching De La Rosa in front of him at 1.5 seconds per lap, and he's 8.4 seconds back. De La Rosa 5th, Frentzen 6th. And there's currently just 1.2 seconds, as you can see, between Häkkinen and Coulthard.
You know, the car language of those two, Häkkinen and Coulthard, makes it look very easy indeed. What's going through David Coulthard's mind, Martin?
What's going through his mind is, why can't I get the power on out of the chicanes? I've watched him on several chicanes now through the race, and he just can't seem to apply the power. And here's Trulli, and Barrichello with Trulli already, look, just a few meters behind him. Barrichello absolutely flying. We're on the 14th lap of the race, and he's really in good shape in the next few chicanes to, I think, pass Trulli.
Yeah, if he gets past Trulli, he's then going to have a real battle on his hands. He's up from 18th to 3rd soon if he gets past Trulli, but he's actually lapping slower at the present moment than the two race leaders, Häkkinen and Coulthard, who are some 10 seconds ahead of him. And Barrichello's right up behind the gearbox of Trulli, just waiting in the moment to bob out from behind it as they turn into the stadium section. That is turn 11 at this 15-corner circuit. They're at turn 12 now, accelerating up to 90 miles an hour from 60 on the apex of the previous corner, and Jarno Trulli can see that scarlet Ferrari big, big, big in his mirrors.
Yes, it's awful when you've got a car behind you know is fast and is bearing down on you. Trulli's getting a little bit untidy in his defence and running a bit wide. I think Barrichello won't spend too long behind Trulli before he finds a way through. He'll get a better drive out of a chicane or a corner, and then for sure he can nail Trulli on the brakes. It may even be as soon as down to the first chicane. Trulli not defending his line yet. Now Barrichello makes the move, the perfect slipstream, and Barrichello will go through under braking, surely, and he does.
Remember what I said about a great, great drive? There is confirmation and underlining of it. But De La Rosa and Verstappen are both catching Trulli as well. Trulli is not going as quickly as he can, as he has done in the past, because you can see De La Rosa in the orange arrows is getting closer to the yellow Jordan in the background. But now Barrichello up into a magnificent 3rd position. Just the two McLarens ahead of him, but they're 12 seconds ahead.
Yes, it's 13.9 seconds last time around, and I think Barrichello's done a sterling job to get from 18th to 3rd and only lose 13.9 seconds to the leader, so the race is set. James, what can you tell us?
Well, Martin, I said at the top of the show I thought that the Frentzen and Barrichello had nothing to lose really today by doing a two-stopper. It's certainly spectacular track action. The reason they're able to do this is because the two-stop fuel load is 40 kilos lighter. That's about 1.2 seconds a lap. They should be faster than these heavy cars carrying a full one-stop fuel load. So I think we're going to, unfortunately, of course, they've got to stop twice, so we're going to see plenty of this kind of action throughout this race.
Well, I'll tell you this, Eddie Jordan must be keeping his fingers crossed, because his team, which was 3rd in the Constructors' Championship last year and had that as a target for this year, to be 3rd in that championship behind McLaren and Ferrari, has slipped down to 6th this year. They've had a rotten year, but Trulli and Frentzen are both in the points. with Jarno Trulli on a potential 3 points, Heinz-Harald Frentzen on 1 point, and if they can keep this up, they're going to move up the championship, possibly even to third position ahead of Williams, as you see a replay of Barrichello moving ahead of the young Italian Jarno Trulli, who's got so much potential and is realising it at Jordan. Lap 16, Häkkinen and Coulthard still separated by just over a second. 14 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who is 2 seconds now ahead of Jarno Trulli, who is 1.4 seconds ahead of De La Rosa and 4 seconds ahead of Frentzen. And Frentzen and De La Rosa are catching Jarno Trulli. Here are the leaders.
Coulthard slipped back slightly now, 1.5 seconds the gap. And you can see it there for yourself. Häkkinen's car working beautifully, not having to fight it at all. Whether Coulthard's regretting putting a little bit more wing on the start line, we'll have to wait and see. If it does rain before 22, as they predicted, then he could be very grateful of it in a few laps' time. Right now, it's sunny as anything, but looking over to the left, there's a big black cloud, Murray. Whether it finds its way over to us or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, a lot of very unhappy Germans here with Michael Schumacher out of the race right at the very beginning, but a lot of other very happy Germans because it's a Mercedes-Benz engine that is powering the McLaren of Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, all the top brass from Mercedes-Benz, and a lot of people from the factory, and of course thousands of spectators are rooting for them.
Yes, hearing from the people sitting in our studio, apparently there are people leaving the circuit already. Some Schumacher fans leaving the racetrack.
Well, you can hear the rockets in the background. They're usually far to signify some sort of celebration here at Hockenheim. I don't know what they're celebrating at the moment from their point of view, except, of course, the way Mercedes are going. And now Barrichello has really pulled the bung out. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 44.6, which is 0.6 of a second faster than the previous lap record. And he's carving the gap down between himself and Häkkinen and Coulthard as we join him here in the Ferrari. Now he's doing very nearly over 200 miles an hour at this point as he rips a visor off rips a tear off from the visor of his helmet, turns into the chicane, right, left, right. Now look back, there is Barrichello. That is the visual gap between the flying Ferrari and the two McLaren Mercedes up ahead. And Rubens Barrichello, with 3 second places behind him already this year, is that much ahead of Trulli, who is that much ahead of De La Rosa, who has got Frentzen right behind him.
Ferrari mechanics coming out into the pit lane, so the Barrichello is extremely light. So Ferrari mechanics out, and Barrichello, it must be for Barrichello. Of course, Schumacher is buried in the wall. They've cleared his car away from turn 1, and Barrichello will be in at the end of this lap. So his pace, his very strong pace, really wasn't strong enough considering he's coming in at lap 17. I would have thought the McLarens will go at least another 7 to 10 laps yet. So that's how much more fuel they're carrying, enough for a quarter of the distance of this race. Now you see it for yourself. So Barrichello having to give up that third place. They ran him light. I suspect they might be doing the same with Frentzen to enable him to get through the traffic earlier on and then resume his race. Wherever he comes out, he's like the people around him, he's got to stop one more time.
Yeah, and of course that has let Jarno Trulli through in the Jordan, and Barrichello has got it all to do again. We'll wait for confirmation when we see them on the circuit, but Rubens Barrichello now, having stopped on lap 18, as you look at Eddie Irvine, and now the arrows and the race order at the present moment on lap 18 out of 45 with a long way to go. Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard first and second, separated by 2 seconds, so Coulthard is dropping back. Jarno Trulli goes up into third position, and it's time for us to go to a break. Lap 20 out of 45, and Jarno Trulli, there he is, the Italian in the Jordan, is back in third position as a result of the stop of Rubens Barrichello, who is in sixth place. And sandwiched between Trulli and Barrichello are Pedro de la Rosa in the arrows. There he is, and behind de la Rosa is Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Yes, and while you're away, Frentzen made his expected pit stop because of his lower fuel load at the beginning of the race. Remember, he started 17th, came through the field, had to pit at the end of lap 19, came out of the pits and just managed to stay ahead of Verstappen. So Frentzen rejoins in 6th after a stop, and Barrichello rejoins in 5th after his stop. So now everybody is on a level playing field. They've all got to stop one more time this afternoon.
Well, coming up for half distance, this is a magnificent tour de force demonstration by the two McLarens. They finished first and second in France with Coulthard ahead of Häkkinen. They finished first and second in Austria with Häkkinen in front of Coulthard. That was their fourth first and second of the season in 10 races. It looks as though this is going to be their 5th in 11 races. If it is, it will give them 16 World Championship points and certainly give them their revenge over Ferrari for having lost 10 World Championship points in the Constructors' contest as a result of the problem they had with the label that you saw Martin talking about earlier on in Austria.
Yes, and Coulthard's going to be ruining that difficult start as a BAR passes a Benetton down there, which must be, let's see.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work it out. Well, there's Verstappen, there's Irvine behind him, there is Jacques Villeneuve, that is Ralf Schumacher, and look at this lot with Alexander Wurz behind Zonta and Salo behind them, and Salo is in 13th place in the Sauber. Behind him is Deniz in the Sauber, and behind Deniz is Heidfeld. So the McLarens are streaking away, but look how close it is behind them. This is almost go-kart racing that they're so close.
Yeah, Jenson Button is right at the back of this queue, having a terrible afternoon because he stalled on the line, started last. He's last but one at the moment and barely able to keep the pace up at the back. Mazzacani's chasing him, and I see from the computer, he's missed a chicane at some point without penalty, thankfully, and Barrichello has just done a new fastest lap of the race.
Which has taken him to within 8 seconds of Pedro de la Rosa. He's a massive 33 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. But remember, he has made his stop and they have not. So when they come in and stop and refuel and take on 4 new tyres and wheels, it's going to be pretty close. Häkkinen leads, Coulthard second, Trulli third, De La Rosa fourth, and Rubens Barrichello in 5th place, who was third, is closing up with news from James Allen.
Well, Murray, I've just been working it all out now with the fuel loads here. Rubens Barrichello took on 50 kilos of fuel. I reckon he'll stop again about lap 33 for his second stop. Frentzen about lap 34. In the meantime, we expect the two McLarens and Trulli to stop around about lap 27 to 30. So don't go anywhere, folks, because this next phase is going to be absolutely fascinating. It's clearly a McLaren race, barring any mechanical misfortunes. The key question now is which McLaren?
Exactly. Is it going to be David Coulthard, who is ahead of Mika Häkkinen, who is the double world champion from 1999 and 98? There are no team orders in the McLaren team because the team's attitude is let the best man win until one of them is so far ahead of the other that the other cannot possibly regain a position, and then the chap who is leading is favoured. But that's a long way off yet as we look at Zonta in 11th place. Wurz behind him in the blue Benetton. And behind Benetton, behind Wurz, is Mika Salo in the stadium.
Sure, I just saw a big flash of lightning over those trees to the left there out of the commentary box, Murray. I'm sure I saw. We've had a lot of lightning through the last 3 days, but some black storm clouds out there. Whether they come this way or not, as you can see, the sun is still shining as the Sauber mechanics are preparing. Ralf Schumacher's in the pits too, in at the end of lap 21.
From 10th place.
Not a great afternoon for the Williams BMW team.
No, it's the BMW engine's first Grand Prix appearance at Hockenheim for a very, very long time. The last time they were there was with the Brabham of Nelson Piquet in the turbo days, and they're getting back into Grand Prix racing, and this is one of the circuits which is toughest of all on engines. They're on full throttle for over 60 seconds in the lap.
Those mechanics are brave in the pit lane, no doubt about it. A car coming towards them at 120 kilometres per hour, 67 miles an hour. Imagine just sitting down there with an air gun in your hand and something's coming towards you, the best part of 70 miles an hour. So Häkkinen leads by 1.7 seconds. Truly a further 22.9 seconds behind. De La Rosa fourth, Barrichello fifth. Frentzen rounds out the top six, currently 47 seconds behind the leader as Villeneuve defends his position there against Eddie Irvine. He's passed him somewhere in this lap. We're going to take a short break.
Away from him in the stadium, Jack, because he has more top speed than you, so you have to get away from him in the stadium. See that?
Lap 24, in comes Jos Verstappen from that terrific fight for 7th position in the Arrows. He's had to 9th position, he's had to yield it to Ricardo Zonta now, and the orange Arrows mechanics attack the car.
Yes, he was in 7th when he came in. The fact that he's so slow in the pit lane, the other two passed him out on the racetrack, so Verstappen was in a pretty solid 7th place, and away he goes. It seems like a relatively straightforward pit stop. And Louise, what can you tell us?
Standing here with Michael Schumacher. Michael, once again, you've gone out of the race in a first corner incident. Talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, basically quite easy. I was going for turning in for the corner from the outside line to get a nice exit for the long straight to make it a run at Coulthard. And then I was bumped off from the back. What part do you think that the McLarens played in that incident? Not very much. I mean, basically, Fisichella came from behind, and he is the person to watch out for cars in front of him, not to run them over. I mean, there is limits to what you can do, and you have to adapt to the circumstances, and he clearly didn't do that good enough. Bearing in mind the controversy that there's been between yourself and David over start manoeuvres, were you kind of expecting him to pull a move on you like he did? Listen, I'm out of the race not because of David. I'm out of the race for Fisichella, and that's it, what you can say about it. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, I've got to disagree slightly with Michael. I understand what he's saying, but he took the line. He really closed Fisichella out. He went into Fisichella's space, and Fisichella was unable to slow down. It was no better than 50-50 in my view, Murray. I don't know where you're at on that one.
Well, I agree with you. You know, I tend to stick up for Schumacher more than most people, but I'm with you on this occasion. And that's cost him another 10 points to the 30 he had already lost through failing to finish this year. And you're looking now at Rubens Barrichello back with Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows. He's caught and passed the Arrows once already this year, this race, and he's going to do so again to regain 4th places. But remember, in Austria, De La Rosa lost a certain points position as the result of the breakage of an oil union, which just cost a few pence.
Look, we've got a strange guy walking down the side of the racetrack in a raincoat on the grass, and what on earth is he doing? Crossing the racetrack during the Grand Prix, and clearly either a bit too much beer there, or he's hit his head on something, because he's not being sensible at all. I've never seen this before. Have you ever seen it, Mary?
Well, I've seen a lunatic in Brazil just as the race was finishing, rushing out. But that is very bad news indeed.
Safety car, so this will close the pack up. James.
Yeah, safety car, and everybody's reacting quickly. We're going to have everybody making their pit stops in the next few minutes. Ferrari are reacting as well. Trulli's in now. We're expecting who's going to come first from McLaren. This could be very painful for whichever is the second of the two McLarens to make their stop. And Ferrari are reacting as well. They're going to bring Barrichello in and fuel him to the end. Amazing turnaround.
Fantastic development this is. That lunatic, whoever he is changing the complexion of the race on lap 26 out of 45. We're not seeing what is happening to him, but there he is. He's got some sort of a Mercedes-Benz slogan on the back of his plastic Mac.
And this is going to cost somebody dearly. Two McLarens running line astern. One of them's going to have to queue in the pit lane. And it's a question of, will they catch that safety car? 4.25 mile racetrack. Will they actually catch the safety car before they come around to the end of the lap? The Jordan made good use of the situation. And here comes Häkkinen. What's going to happen? Only one of them can be serviced at a time. There's one pit garage per team, one crew of 22 men. Häkkinen comes in. Coulthard surely will have to come in. If he goes around, he's going to catch the safety car and end up at the back of the queue. No, Coulthard has to go around. He's just got to hope and pray he doesn't catch that safety car before he gets round again. He surely will.
Well, they've done what I would have expected. They had to give preference to Häkkinen. He's leading the race. But the question now is, are they going to catch that lunatic who's walking around the course and get him off it? All sorts of things can and will happen as Mika Häkkinen exits the pit lane, and we're on lap 27 now. Remember, Jarno Trulli, who was third, has come in and made his pit stop. He was, at the time, some 30 seconds behind the McLarens. The safety car is there. Coulthard is behind him.
Coulthard's going to end up last in this race when they restart. And there's Barrichello in again. But Coulthard has now got to do a slow lap behind the safety car, then come in for a stop. So the queue will go, the snake will go past, and Coulthard will end up right on the back of the queue. Disaster for Coulthard.
And Barrichello is out before Frentzen. There is Heinz Harald. Barrichello third on the track, third in the race. Exits the pit lane before Heinz Harald Frentzen.
Yeah, they've made a desperate mistake by not allowing Coulthard to queue up and just simply wait to be serviced. Now he's got to come in for his stop and let... And James, what can you say?
Well, I was just about to say, Martin, why didn't he come in and queue up? And I really think that's what Ron Dennis told the mechanics he was going to do. I saw him come shooting off the pit wall and telling the tyre guys, get DC's tyres ready as well, because he's coming in as well. And then he went just on straight past. Maybe it was a communication error, maybe there was a little bit of everybody talking at the same time because there was such chaos down here. But Coulthard has certainly paid a heavy price. I said the guy from McLaren who came in second was going to lose out, but I really didn't expect it to be this much.
And where is Mr. Halfwit now walking around the track? We don't see him, but this is yet another indication of something that I keep on saying, that Formula One and motor racing are not just about the best driver, they're about the best driver allied to the best car, allied to the best team and the best backup. And here comes the safety car towards us with David Coulthard, who's potentially last in the race, and there you can see another additional car, and whoever it is going to be put into that car. He's made his point, whatever it is, and I hope he feels happy about it. I just can't imagine what is going on in his mind, but my goodness, it hasn't half changed the race for our safety car. Coulthard will have to come in now, or will he stay out?
Well, he can stay out. I'm sure he's got more fuel than
he's coming in. Look,
yes, the mechanics are ready for him, but if the safety car's going in this lap, there's David trying to get himself as much space as possible. Yes, he is coming in, so the safety car's staying on track. Now, Coulthard's got to somehow stop, but he won't be allowed back out of the pit until after the snake had gone past, probably, and disaster for Coulthard.
And Trulli is up into second place ahead of Rubens Barrichello as the McLaren mechanics do the best they possibly can for David Coulthard, who has been cruelly cheated of his position.
Yeah, crucial mistake there by somebody, not allowing Coulthard to come in and queue. I don't know, it may have been him, may have been a communication problem, may have been a decision problem, but look, he's going to end up virtually at the back of the snake, having been in a strong second place. Hakkinen is at the front of the queue. We saw him behind Coulthard before Coulthard had to pit. Look, and there it is now, look. So where is Coulthard in the race, Murray?
Yeah, but look at this, you see, all tight up behind. The race is in effect restarting, as you see. Mika Hakkinen leading, Jarno Trulli second, Rubens Barrichello third, De La Rosa is fourth, Frentzen is fifth, and David Coulthard there in sixth position.
It didn't work out quite as bad as I thought, but bad enough for Coulthard, because he's now at the back of that pack and of the front runners of the afternoon. It's flip-flopped him right back there, and the lights are still on the safety car. Strange message here on the computer, look, Murray. Maybe hopefully we'll never see that again. Man on track.
But ding dong, are we going to see a race now? Lap 28, and you can see how close they are. And remember Rubens Barrichello, who's come up from 18th. He's made his pit stop. He's going to have to make another one, and that's the crumpled mess that was Michael Schumacher's car when the race started. Behind it is the crumpled mess that was Giancarlo Fisichella's car. What an incredible German Grand Prix this is turning out to be. Lap 28, and Mika Hakkinen leads Jarno Trulli. Rubens Barrichello is in third position. De La Rosa is right behind him in the arrows and just ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and up into seventh position, mysteriously and magnificently, according to the computer in front of me, and I'm waiting for confirmation on the track, is Jenson Button. Well, what about that for a development? Safety car. Hakkinen, Trulli, Barrichello and De La Rosa, Frentzen and Coulthard, Schumacher, Villeneuve, Zonta, Verstappen, Salo, Wurz. Well, the computer cannot lie. It is on this occasion Jenson Button has got to come in, and I confirm that there is rain on the way. Whether it's going to get here in time to wet the track before the end of this race, which has nearly half its distance still to go, remains to be seen. And David Coulthard will be well and truly fired up now. And a word from James Allen.
Well, of course, the $10 million question here is, was Coulthard told to stay out, or was it his own decision? But what I can tell you is when he pulled away from his pit stop, he made a very dismissive hand gesture with his left hand to the pit wall at McLaren. So that may tell you that he doesn't think whatever the decision they made was the right one.
Yes, and the golden rule is, and the safety car's in, the golden rule is that you only come in when you have clearance to do so. You do not just wander in the pit lane of your own volitions. But nonetheless, at least Coulthard's not too far down the field. He has a chance to overtake and have a go.
Watch Barrichello. You're seeing the snake now, and Barrichello can see the opportunity to get past Trulli, take second place, get up behind Mika Hakkinen, and behind them are De La Rosa and Frentzen. And you can see now Rubens Barrichello closing up and coming outside alongside Jarno Trulli, and is he going through to second position? The answer is no. Trulli holds the inside line. Barrichello fights ahead of De La Rosa and Frentzen. It's nose to tail, snake formation round the circuit. Mika Hakkinen has got a clear track in front of him, and he's making the most of it because he knows he's got to get the hammer down and get clear space between himself and Rubens Barrichello and Jarno Trulli. And Jarno Trulli is undoubtedly holding up Barrichello and De La Rosa and Frentzen as the rest switch back their way through the chicanes down into the 200-mile-an-hour straight on lap 29 out of 45. And Mika Hakkinen eases away a bit.
Zonta getting very close there to his teammate Villeneuve, locking up a wheel, but everybody snatching. And is that Coulthard getting ready to have a go at his first victim? Yes, it is. He's up behind Frentzen, but not close enough to have a go into the stadium. The two BARs are still at it, hammer and tongs, but Häkkinen waltzing away up at the front.
Yeah, and of course David Coulthard is not amongst a lot of rabbits. He's amongst some very, very quick, very talented, extremely experienced Formula One drivers in mighty quick motor cars on a circuit where there are passing places, but not all that many. As Häkkinen goes through now, Trulli, Barrichello, De La Rosa, Fredson, David Coulthard in sixth position, still in the points. Both the McLarens are in the points, but not as commandingly as they were before that man came out on the track. And hopefully he's on his way to clink now, some recompense. And down to the 200-mile-an-hour straight into the chicane again, and just look at the way Mika Häkkinen is getting the hammer down and stretching away. He's now nearly 3 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli.
And we've got a, is that Jenson Button? No, it's Ralf Schumacher. Schumacher is spun. Verstappen had to go right around the outside. Obviously Ralf keeping the engine running up and away, but he will now be effectively last.
And I saw De La Rosa. Look at this, there's Schumacher, Wurtz going through. This is absolutely fantastic. Formula One, wheel to wheel, nose to tail racing. So, Trulli, Barrichello can't get past the Jordan yet. De La Rosa is right past the Ferrari. There goes Jacques Villeneuve, then there's a gap. This is Ralf Schumacher, followed by Alexander Wurtz. And Trulli,
big accident.
And there's and the cars whizzed through the frame and us didn't spot which ones they were. 2 wheels off, that's a nasty one.
That could be another pace car, could be another safety car situation with so much debris. Safety car is standing by, I see, but
it's Pedro Diniz.
But it's a Prost that's in the wall. I don't know which one.
Well, Pedro Diniz was with a Lacey.
Yeah, so Lacey in the wall. He's out of the car, look, so he's okay. Diniz, I think, should be okay, probably just talking on the radio.
Hopefully
and safety car has picked up Häkkinen.
And Häkkinen will be caught by Jarno Trulli. He has been. Jarno Trulli will be caught by Rubens Barrichello. He has been. Rubens Barrichello will be caught by De La Rosa. He has been. And behind them, Fredson and Coulthard and Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is now in 7th position ahead of his teammate Ricardo Zonta, with Alex Wurtz in 9th position and Mika Salo in 10th place. And let's have a look. This is a replay.
Yes, let's see. I think, look, Diniz cuts in, look, and just drives into the side of a Lacey. That's why Lacey was upset. They were side by side. Diniz went to take line with a Lacey completely in the way. And there it is again. Surely Pedro knew he was there.
Well, Louise Goodman was talking to a Lacey earlier today, and she said, do you want rain in this race? He said, I want thunderbolts and satellites, anything to help me. That's his 8th retirement from 11 races in the Prost team, which he had hoped to do well in. His head is very well forward there.
Yeah, that's a big crash, a very big crash. It's well over 200 miles an hour, and I don't think they'd quite made it to the braking zone as Diniz pulled over to take his line and just popped Lacey's car up in the air, which suggests they were little more than side by side. I think Diniz was slightly ahead, but they were still fundamentally side by side, and a Lacey just smashing into the barriers, and we know he's okay, we know he's walked away, but so no injuries to the drivers, but a big and expensive accident.
So that's Diniz out of the race, Lacey out of the race, Herbert, Schumacher and Fisichella as the marshals pick up the debris. We're on lap 31 out of 45. Safety car is out for the 2nd time.
Yes, the tyre tether's still not managing to keep those wheels on board the cars, but that was a violent accident. They take about 5 tons of energy. Next year they're going to have 2 of those tethers on in an attempt to keep these tyres on. And this will be a replay, I think. Yes, I think it was that was Ralf, we know from earlier on. He was hit from behind by what I would assume to be Zonta. Verstappen just had to go around. He wasn't part of the accident. He had to go around and avoid it. It was a BAR that ran into the back of Ralf.
Yeah, and Ralf is back on the track now. You've seen him dashing around, but he's trying to catch up with the end of the snake behind the safety car. He's been into the pits for the 2nd time, presumably for a replacement nose, as we look across the stadium at the safety car.
Safety car's in this lap, in at the end of this lap, so 2 more corners for the safety car. Häkkinen will hold them back, then try and give himself a run through the last corner as they clear away the wreckage of that Prost. And Häkkinen is going for it already. Look, he's already built a gap. he caught Trulli sleeping there a bit.
Yeah, Häkkinen, who had such a terrible German Grand Prix last year, when first of all his fuel filler stuck, and then secondly he had a delaminated tyre. But he's well in command, and off goes, that's Alexander Wurz. There's been another contact. Wurz from down in the midfield goes off in the Benetton, and that's the second Benetton, of course. Looks to me as though he stalled the engine. He puts his visor up, and he's on the track. Hopefully the marshal, and De La Rosa is having a go at Rubens Barrichello for third position again. My goodness, I mean, people from Leafield and the Cotswolds area, which is where Tom Walkinshaw has got his racing empire, must be keeping their fingers crossed, because it's a magnificent race for the Arrows. And De La Rosa, who did so well in Austria, is doing even better here in Germany, thanks to the superlative speed of the car. It really is terrific. And Wurz is out of the car, running across the track, out of the race, another retirement.
And look, he had contact down the field with what must be it's the Sauber of Salo, so contact early on. I don't quite know how they managed to run into each other that early. I think his car is still on the start-finish line. Safety car standing by again, and it's not surprising. It's on the racing line into turn 1, but no safety car at the moment, but it is standing by, and they're now just clearing Wurz's car across the grass as the snake comes into the stadium. I think they'll get it out of the way just in time, Murray.
Well, you may remember I was talking to Charlie Whiting before this programme began, the race director, and we were talking at one point about the safety car. This is the sort of decision he has to make, and he always makes the right one. So, safety car clear. Häkkinen leads, lap 33, 45 lap race. It's looking very good for Mika Häkkinen, because Rubens Barrichello is the only bloke to me who can challenge him, and he's still caught up behind Jarno Trulli. Incidentally, both the Jordans are in the top 6, and the umbrellas are going up in this incredible race where we've had collisions, where we've had a lunatic walking around the course, we've had the safety car out. It looked as though the weather was going to be good all through the race. It looks as though now it is not going to be good all through the race, and we face a situation where they could be coming in to change from dry weather tyres to rain tyres, and then anything can happen at Hockenheim.
Yes, they're a long way from home too. I don't know how hard it's raining or where. In fact, those people are putting their coats on, but the track looks relatively dry at the moment, doesn't it? They're a good 2 miles from home. I'd be surprised if they pit at the end of this lap. The Ferrari mechanics are out and ready. It's raining, but it's not raining hard enough for wet. But as I've said again, it's 4¼ miles, the second longest track of the year, Murray. You can't afford to be out in the trees there on the wrong tyres if there's a downpour.
Well, yesterday's Formula 3000 race was decided by tyres, because Thomas Scheckter, world champion Jody Schecter's son, in his only his second Formula 3000 race, was brilliantly leading it, and his teammate, the Czechoslovakian Thomas Enger, came in and changed from look at the rain, look at the rain, look at the rain. And we can hear thunder here. It's going to be a big one at Hockenheim. It's going to be a big one. And to finish what I was saying earlier on, Thomas Enger came in and changed from wet weather tyres to dry weather tyres, and he was lapping 7 seconds a lap faster than the people who'd got ahead of him, and he caught them all and he passed them all and he won the race. The same thing could happen here. The team managers will be looking up into the skies, trying to make a decision about when they can best bring their men in. Look at the spots of rain on our television camera lens as in comes Nick Heidfeld in the Prost, and you can see that Mika Häkkinen has not got all that much of a lead. Out goes the red and yellow flag, which means trouble on the track in the form of some kind of moisture, and it's not too difficult to guess what that is.
And Coulthard has passed Frentzen, so Coulthard threw up into 5th place. He's got to be careful here he doesn't get too brave, and remember he lost his wing here last year, making a rash move on Salo, who was driving the Ferrari at the time, and cost himself a lot of points. He can't afford that double shuffle in the pit stop. Cost Coulthard dearly today, and he can't afford to trip over somebody. Here's a replay, down into the first chicane. Again, Frentzen there going to the middle of the track, defending his line well there, Frentzen, but David saying, so what, if you do that, I'm going down the outside, I'll brake even later than you. and a good clean move there from Coulthard. That'll give him a lot of confidence to pass the rest of them. And the oil, well, they're called the oil flags, but as you say, it means slippery track ahead. And Häkkinen still up front by some 2.1 seconds from Trulli. Barrichello, the Ferrari mechanics. It's raining hard here now, Murray. They're going to have to think about wet tyres certainly quite soon if it carries on raining like this.
Don't leave the room, it's going to be terrific from now. Lap 34, 11 laps to go. Rain on the circuit at Hockenheim, and it's all potentially going to change.
Blown engine, big blown engine for
it's Genet.
Genet, is it? Yeah. So hopefully he hasn't left a lot of oil on the track. That'll sort them out. A nice emulsion of oil and water. Eddie Irvine recovering. He's pointing at the sky, but you can't see that when you're doing 180 miles an hour driving past the start-finish line. And still the BAR...
Villeneuve, that's Villeneuve and Zonta. Zonta has hit Jack Villeneuve, who pirouettes through 360 degrees time and time again. Brilliantly keeps the engine running and accelerates away, just as Ralf Schumacher in 12th position gets past him. And Eddie Irvine has done a 180 as well. Right. And look at this. They're going to come pouring into the pits now.
Yes, and then once again, Coulthard's going to be at the back of the queue for McLaren. They're all, anybody with two cars running is going to have a queue of cars sitting at the pit lane. They've got to come in at the end of this lap. It's now wet enough here in the stadium, I'm sure. It just depends how wet it is down the far end. Some 2 odd miles. Doesn't look too bad, does it? Really doesn't look too bad down there. But they're in for quite a shock when they get down the end of the next straight. It's raining hard here at the stadium. As you see a replay of Genet's Minardi blowing up. It's an oil fire shortly afterwards, which clearly means the valves have had a chat with the pistons and the oil is getting inside the cylinder. And then the replay again of Eddie Irvine spinning off. But what are they going to...
And here's Villeneuve and Zonta. This is a replay. Zonta clips the right rear wheel of his teammate's BAR. Remember I said 2 weeks ago in Austria, the worst thing that can happen is for two teammates to hit each other. Lacey and Heidfeld did it in Austria for Prost, and now Villeneuve and Zonta have done it in Germany for BAR.
Zonta and Villeneuve, and Häkkinen comes in. The two BARs have been threatening to run into each other for some laps now, and finally they achieved it as Häkkinen comes in early. They're
Martin,
all coming in.
Barrichello's going on. Barrichello is going on. Rubens Barrichello carries on and takes the lead in the German Grand Prix, but it's a bit of a false lead because he will have to, unless he's taking a tremendous gamble, which he obviously is, that things will improve and that he can stay on his dry weather tyres. We're on lap 36 out of 45 now. Mika Häkkinen is rejoining the race on rain tyres, on wet weather tyres, followed by Trulli and followed by De La Rosa.
Wets are the way to go, surely, although it's still quite dry down the far, and this is so confusing for the drivers, and they've got to be careful. They lose a lot of tyre temperature through going slowly on the damp parts and pressure, but now they can build it back up again. And well, has Häkkinen gone slightly too early? For sure, they're going to have to go on to wet soon. It's raining quite hard down there. There's now plumes of water coming out of behind the cars as they go down the pit straight. But look, bone dry at the Ost curve.
And the Ferrari mechanics have got a set of wet weather tyres ready for Rubens Barrichello, and David Coulthard is really flying as well. Now here comes Barrichello. David Coulthard is up into second place in the race, followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen, followed by Ricardo Zonta, in the BAR. Well, my goodness, I said this race was going to be blown wide open, and it has been. And the question now is it going to stop raining, in which case Barrichello may be able to stay out on dry weather tyres, or is it going to get worse, in which case Mika Häkkinen there will be laughing again. And he, at the present moment, has got the Jordan right behind him. Look at this. They're into the stadium and out of it, and Barrichello is going to come through in the lead.
Yes, Frentzen is more comfortable at the moment. His car's working better than Coulthard's. He's putting him under pressure on the damp stuff. Coulthard finding a bit of traction. You cannot believe how easy it is to swap ends, just put a millimetre too much throttle, and Barrichello goes again, and Coulthard goes again. They're saying, OK, I'm happy with the grip at the far end, and I'll put up with the slippery stuff at this end. We'll go for another lap. And there's the tyre blankets remaining on Barrichello's tyres as he leads the German Grand Prix.
Lap 37, you're looking at Rubens Barrichello, followed by David Coulthard. We're coming back, but we're going for a break. 45, Jarno Trulli has had a 10-second stop-go penalty, presumably for speeding in the pit lane. He was in 7th place out of the points, but up front it's magic.
Yes.
There is Rubens Barrichello still leading.
And they're all still on slicks at the front end here. Zonta is under investigation by the stewards, presumably for running into Villeneuve. We wait to see on that. I just saw Coulthard going straight over the chicane at the first chicane, taking the shortcut. He may get a penalty for that. He did not gain, he did not overtake anybody, but I don't think he saved the position either. But Coulthard struggling a little bit with these conditions. Frentzen all over him, and Barrichello staying out front now, and look how wet it is. Rooster tails behind the cars. Remember, they are on slick tyres, and Zonta is staying with them, and Coulthard really struggles now when he gets to the stadium area. Frentzen all over him once again.
Frentzen, attack, attack, attack! That's Coulthard's McLaren in front of him.
But look now, Häkkinen, 1 minute 55 on wets. Coulthard runs wide, Coulthard runs very wide, and Frentzen doing well. He's got to come in this time, David. And Frentzen, they should be in this lap. They're now slower than Häkkinen on wets.
Zonta goes off.
Zonta in the wall, as you can see, they should be in this lap, and Coulthard in. Coulthard is in the pits.
But Frentzen goes through and takes 2nd position. He's taking a tremendous gamble. So Frentzen goes up into 2nd position. Here are the Ferrari mechanics taking 2nd place. He was David Coulthard in for wets, but he's losing places. There are going to be 6 laps left at the end of this race, and it's going to be a quite incredible situation as Mika Häkkinen attacks in the McLaren.
So good stop there for Coulthard, 7.6 seconds. I think Frentzen made a mistake somewhere, because Häkkinen has now taken him for what will be 2nd place. Coulthard joining the track quite late though, so Coulthard coming out with Ralf Schumacher. That's 9th place for David Coulthard. Just won't work out for him today.
Now Mika Häkkinen is lapping 1.2 seconds on wet weather tyres, faster than Rubens Barrichello on dry weather tyres, and Barrichello is on lap 39 out of 45.
But look, Frentzen's got back past Häkkinen again, so Häkkinen obviously losing some grip somewhere. Remember, he's on wet tyres on this dry part of the racetrack, and incredible, Häkkinen can't find any traction. And then when they get to, now did Frentzen make a mistake? Yes, he did. Look, he went across the chicane, so he's yielded to Häkkinen. That's how Häkkinen got in front of him, and then later on Frentzen retakes Häkkinen.
Yeah, I think it was a very sensible move of Frentzen's to let Häkkinen pass, because he would have had to come in for a stop-go penalty at least for having benefited from going off. But here is a man who is not going off at the present moment. Rubens Barrichello. Is he going to win his first Grand Prix? He's had 2nd places for Jordan. He's had 2nd places for Ferrari. He's never won a Grand Prix, and this is Rubens Barrichello's 123rd race. He could be in the running as winner, because he is not being caught by David Coulthard or Frentzen.
Now look, Häkkinen has just taken Frentzen and then pulled away about 7 or 8 seconds when they get into the wet stadium zone. So it's a complete yo-yo around the track.
Now, let me just give you the positions. Lap 40, Barrichello is leading Häkkinen by 10 seconds. David Coulthard is 3rd, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen is 4th. Mika Salo is 5th, and Jenson Button is in 6th position.
And Frentzen is pulling out of the race. Frentzen on the start-finish line here with some problems, so Frentzen is out of the race. We're going to take a short break, be back very quickly.
Lap 42 out of 45. I can hardly contain myself. You're watching Rubens Barrichello, who is staying ahead on dry weather tyres of Mika Häkkinen on wet weather tyres. The gap is 10 seconds, and we have just seen Heinz-Harald Frentzen retire from the race. We've seen of Jos Verstappen pull out from 7th position. The orders at the moment: Barrichello leads Häkkinen by 10 seconds. Coulthard is 3rd. Salo in the Sauber is 4th. Jenson Button is in 5th position. And Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows is 8th.
So this is what we've got, as you see a replay of Verstappen going off backwards into the first corner of the stadium. Häkkinen's losing 3 seconds to Barrichello out in the countryside where it's dry, and then making it all back up in the stadium. But it's pretty much status quo, so Barrichello can stay roughly 10 seconds ahead of Häkkinen. Häkkinen on the wet tyres cannot find any grip through the 2 chicanes. Frentzen dropped out of the race while 3rd, so a technical problem for him. Somehow Barrichello is keeping that Ferrari pointing in the right direction on a wet track. Absolutely brilliant driving from Barrichello, no doubt about it. The lead is down to 9.5 seconds now. Häkkinen cannot make the difference when he's got those wet tyres on.
Who would ever have thought this when Michael Schumacher and Fisichella collided at the beginning of the race, and the 2 McLarens streaked away until that very strange chap started wandering about the circuit, and out came the safety car. And as a result of that and all sorts of other things in this quite incredible Hockenheim German Grand Prix, you're looking at Rubens Barrichello on lap 42 out of 45, leading Mika Häkkinen and maintaining the lead of just about 10 seconds, and seemingly comfortable, notwithstanding the fact that part of this circuit is dry, part of the circuit is wet. David Coulthard is in 3rd position, and McLaren are looking good for 11 World Championship points, which is going to make them very good indeed and take them ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship.
Yes, Coulthard has passed Salo somewhere out of sight of the TV cameras. Jenson Button is in 5th place with the current 2 World Championship points in his pocket. If he can get to the end of the race, De La Rosa finishing out the top 6. But once again, Häkkinen is 7 or 8 tenths up on this lap in the first section. He'll lose in the second section. He is ever so slowly catching Rubens Barrichello, but it's very much a tale of a track of 2 parts.
Yeah, if he's catching him at half a second a lap, it's about all that he is doing, and the gap is still over 9 seconds, so that's 18 laps, and there's only 4 laps left in the race, only 3 laps left very shortly, because here comes Rubens Barrichello to complete his 42nd lap, start his 43rd, P2, 3 laps to go. That is the sign that is going to be held out to Mika Häkkinen.
Yes, and Barrichello still keeping it pointing in the right direction. Remember, he started this race in 18th position. Michael Schumacher tripped up with Fisichella into the first corner of the first lap. They were out immediately. Johnny Herbert broke down early on. Then there are a series of incidents in the midfield, cars tripping over. They were running very close from 5th through to 19th. A series of fairly big accidents, including Jean Alesi, one of them. Then the rain started coming down, and just before that we had a strange guy wandering around the racetrack. They had to bring out the safety car, closed up the pack. Coulthard lost out because he had to wait another lap. Only 1 pit facility per team, and they're putting back down the field. He's back up now to 3rd place. Häkkinen driving brilliantly until he pitted too early for his wets. Barrichello has stayed out on those slick tyres. I suspect right now the right tyre to be on is the wet tyre, but of course Barrichello didn't have to make that pit stop. It's given him track position and certainly all the ammunition he needs to take his first Grand Prix win, not only for Ferrari but for himself.
Yeah, and you just saw Mika Häkkinen come flying round the corner, but if Rubens Barrichello does win this race, it will be richly deserved. Not only has he fought his way up from 18th to the lead, but he genuinely is one of the nicest people in Grand Prix racing, and he's taken a bit of flack this year because people didn't expected him to go better against Michael Schumacher than he has done. But there is David Coulthard in 3rd position. Bearing down on him is Mika Salo on the left, who has now got Jenson Button ahead of him. So Jenson Button is up into 4th place. And he's had 2 fifth places this year. The young Englishman, he's only 20 years old in his first season of Grand Prix racing and is potentially going to be replaced by Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams team next year. He's driving an absolute storm of a race. He is a natural. This is the first time he's driven at Hockenheim. He's not used to driving in wet weather. And just look at the way he's going. He's pulling away from Mika Salo, who is in 5th position, and Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows, who is in 6th place. And Rubens Barrichello is now on his penultimate lap, his last lap but one.
Yes, and remember, Jensen's really kept his head well this afternoon. He had a terrible first half of the race. He started plumb last, having stalled on the dummy grid, was running last but one, but now when the chips are down and everybody's having problems, he's really cutting the mustard up there in 4th place, just 5 seconds behind Coulthard.
Ride with Rubens, it's a joy, and he's now 12 seconds ahead of and pulling away from Mika Häkkinen on lap 44 out of 45. And you know, I have to say it again, in Formula One, anything can happen, and it usually does, and everything has happened in this quite amazing motor race. Rubens Barrichello turns through the centre curve. He's coming down now at nearly 200 miles an hour to turn 11 out of 15 on his 44th lap out of 45, with a comfortable lead over that man, Mika Häkkinen, double world champion. And there behind Mika Häkkinen, you can see it's Coulthard. I apologise. I was going to say, what's Jenson Button doing there? There is Jenson Button with Salo and De La Rosa, and behind De La Rosa is Schumacher.
Yeah, Button 5.1 seconds behind last time over the start-finish line, and they're about even Stevens in the first section, so I don't think Button's got enough laps left to do anything about Coulthard. They're running similar pace, and it's now Häkkinen beginning to fade away. Those wets getting too hot. Barrichello can hack it on the wet track with the slicks, just squeezing that throttle oh so gently as he now heads into his final lap, taking the go-kart line around the outside, using all the old bits of tyre and debris to find that extra grip that you have in these slimy conditions, and the Ferrari mechanics running to the pit wall, Murray.
If you believe in Ferrari, get down and pray, because Rubens Barrichello is on his last lap in what looks like being a magnificent first ever and absolutely brilliant victory. The gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen has been reduced marginally, but is still over 11 seconds as you watch the Finn coming home for what looks like a certain 6 World Championship points, which could have been 10.
Yes, talk about damage limitation. Certainly with Michael Schumacher out the first corner, this is the best Ferrari could have hoped for. Is a virtuoso performance from Barrichello, and he really has given it to them, hasn't he? Those overtaking manoeuvres, albeit with a lighter car in the first part of the race, were sensational, and he had the confidence to stay out on the racetrack. There's Michael Schumacher watching the action, and the fastest man on the track by miles is actually Jenson Button, who just took 2.5 seconds out of Coulthard on the last lap, and will be giving him a real hurry up to the line for that final podium place.
And if I'm right with my mental arithmetic, amazingly, Michael Schumacher is still going to be leading the World Championship at the end of this race. Rubens Barrichello is into the stadium for the 45th and last time. He turns into the slow turn 12 left-hander. He can almost feel a wonderful, and look at the reception he gets. Michael Schumacher and Corinna, his wife, are almost as pleased for Schumacher for Barrichello as he would have been for himself. Mika Häkkinen finishes in second position. David Coulthard there is in third position. Jenson Button, look at him closing up on the McLaren, finishes higher in a Grand Prix than he's finished before. 2 fifth places and now a 4th. And Mika Salo is 5th with Pedro de la Rosa in 6th position. Both the Williams cars are in the top 7 because Ralf Schumacher is in 7th place. And Jean Todt, the boss of Ferrari, with Ross Brawn and the euphoric Ferrari team, can hardly believe their luck, but it was deserved.
Well, Rubens Barrichello's waited a long time for that first win, but what a quality win when it came. Absolutely brilliant performance from 18th on the grid through one of the weirdest Grand Prix you'll ever see. Rain, shine, a man wandering over the track, safety cars. He kept his head, and then when he needed some confidence to take that first win, he had it splashing around, rooster tails coming out of the back of the car on slicks as he passed his pit each time, and he stuck with it. James.
Ross Brawn, you're actually crying today. What an extraordinary motor race, and what's Rubens done for you today?
Well, it was his decision to stay out. We talked about it over the radio, and we realised it was worth a chance, and he said, no, let me go. Let's try it. And it was just fantastic. There was a few points when it was tough, but then when we saw how much Häkkinen was struggling in T2, we realised we could do it. It's just a matter of not falling off.
And he's kept Michael in the championship, of course.
Yeah, I guess so, yes. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that, but that was fantastic.
Well, on a serious note, though, Ross, what about the nutter that walked on the track? That must never be allowed to happen again, must it?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very, very dangerous. I mean, the trouble is the public do have access, particularly a place like this, because it's in the forest. So, no, that must never be allowed to happen if we can prevent it.
Just sum up in a few words for us the skill of Rubens Barrichello, what he achieved out there today.
Well, he had everything. I mean, he had patience, so he worked his way up through the grid. We took a two-stop because we thought it was worth a chance. And he called the decision for tyres at the end, to stay out and give it a go. And he just drove a perfect race.
A magnificent turnaround. Well done, Ross.
Superstar Rubino, Rubens Barrichello, look at the joy on his face. And in this incredible race, Michael Schumacher, who has not scored points for the last 3 races, still leads the championship, and Coulthard and Häkkinen are tying with each other, 2 points behind Michael Schumacher. 56 points for Schumacher, 54 points for Coulthard and Häkkinen, and Rubens Barrichello is only 10 points now behind Michael Schumacher. This has had it all.
Well, in the next door comedy box are the Brazilian commentators, and they are absolutely, as you can imagine, ecstatic. That must be the first Brazilian driver Brazilian win since Senna won back in '93 for McLaren.
Yeah, that's right.
Imagine.
And Luciano Berti, the Jaguar driver who substituted for Eddie Irvine so superbly in Austria, is standing with just the width of the glass between us, and is he a happy boy? Because he's a great friend of Rubens Barrichello's and lived until recently in the same house with the young Brazilian.
Well, Michael will be very pleased. That certainly saved a part of his day at least, and Rubens Barrichello waited 123 races for this win. So well done to him. I can't think of anybody who will not be happy about that in the Formula One paddock.
No, as I said earlier on, he really is a charming person. You don't hear a hard word about him from anyone.
With the possible exception of some McLaren people, of course.
Well, absolutely. But they won't be unpleasant words, because he richly deserved that victory. And to recap, Rubens Barrichello wins the 11th race in this superb World Championship Series of the year 2000 by 7.4 seconds from Mika Häkkinen. He beat him fair and square. You heard Ross Brawn saying that Rubens made the decision about whether he would stay on dry weather tyres or come in for wet weather tyres. He made it right. He beat Häkkinen, but McLaren are now leading the Constructors' World Championship, which is some recompense, as a delighted Michael Schumacher joins a euphoric Rubens Barrichello, who I do believe is in tears.
Not strictly legal, you're not allowed to be in the Parc Fermé, but I don't think anybody will mind too much with Michael going in there and enjoying that moment. Coulthard and Barrichello used to fight hammer and nail in the British Formula 3 Championship, of course. Barrichello just taking it from Coulthard, and now this is Barrichello's day.
Lovely bit of sportsmanship from Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. And one has to say that it might well have been a very different result if that nutter had not taken it in his mind to go wandering about the track. But, you know, it was the same for everyone, and Rubens Barrichello saw his chances and he took it. This young man who comes from Sao Paulo, cut his teeth on kart racing. He lives just a few hundred yards from the Interlagos circuit, where he used to watch his heroes as a boy, little realising that he would become as good as them.
and he joins the greats. Not many people have won a Grand Prix race, and our own James Allen is talking to Michael Schumacher to get his reaction. But let's spare a word too for Jenson Button, because whilst Rubens Barrichello came up from 18th to win the race, the best performance of the day, Jenson Button cut him very close indeed. He started 22nd and last. There he is on the right of your pictures now, standing on the scales, and he finishes in 4th position for 3 World Championship points. Jenson Button 4th, Mika Salo, good for Sauber. They've got 2 World Championship points. Great for Arrows, because they had only got 1 World Championship point before today. 3 World Championship points, I apologise. So Arrows have had a great race too. And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari actually still lead it, to my surprise, by 4 points. They're on 102 points, Ferrari, and McLaren, notwithstanding the 2nd and 3rd place that Hakkinen and Coulthard had, are 4 points behind them. And really, as it has been for the whole year, this Constructors' Championship is just between 2 teams, Ferrari and McLaren, because Williams in 3rd place, and that's as a result of Button's 4th position. They're holding it, are no less than 80 World Championship points behind Ferrari.
Yes, you may be surprised, of course. McLaren lost 10 points this week, Murray, didn't they, from the security seal from Hakken's car in the Austrian Grand Prix, as Rubino enjoys his moment of glory, and so he should. But feel a bit sorry for Jordan today. Truly was running so well for so long up there in 3rd place. Then he got a stop and go penalty. Frentzen then took up the baton, and his car failed for some reason. So Jordan they're now 6th in the World Championship and going away with no points when they actually put in a very, very strong performance. Coulthard's 3rd place, that'll be quite bittersweet for him. It'll be interesting to see what he's got to say about that pit stop early on when the safety car came out with the guy wandering around the racetrack. And then, of course, he elected to stay out on slicks, as did Barrichello, but then came in for the wets. His car not working as well as the Ferrari for whatever reason in the wet conditions. Barrichello really just peerless in those tricky conditions.
Yeah,
I've never seen a situation that's so cut and dried, excuse the pun, where one part of the circuit is absolutely wet and the other side stays bone dry all through the duration.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the FIA, the governing body of motorsport, are going to say to Hockenheim now about the chap wandering around the circuit. This track is some 4.3 miles long, and when you're out in the forest, I don't see, to be fair to Hockenheim, that it's possible to police it and stop some lunatic climbing over the barriers. But here's a man who's climbed right to the top. Yes, thank you. He is in tears, and he does deserve to be where he is, waving the flag of Brazil, remembering his own great hero, Ayrton Senna. Let it all out, Rubino. Feel proud. Feel proud. You have every right to. And Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard, who've been there many times, hear the Italian national anthem for Ferrari. thought I'd seen it all. I hadn't seen the combination of circumstances that we've had here at Hockenheim today, which have given us a truly memorable race, which has resulted in the World Championship becoming even closer than it was before. And we've still got the Hungarian, the Belgian, the Italian, the American, the Japanese and the Malaysian Grand Prix to look forward to and to savour in this wonderful year of Formula One, which just gets better and better all the time. So, Rubens Barrichello gets his trophy from Erwin Teufel, who's the Chief Minister of Baden-Württemberg, and Rolf Oberwerder gives Mika Häkkinen his, and David Coulthard gets his trophy. And of course, the Constructors' Trophy goes to Ferrari. And it's yet another victory for the Maranello team, unexpectedly after what happened to Michael Schumacher at the very beginning of the race, thanks to the skill, the determination and the racecraft, the brilliant racecraft of Rubens Barrichello, who celebrates his first win of the season and ever in his career, very fittingly.
Thanks very much indeed, Murray. Well, not the Ferrari winner the majority of the Hockenheim crowd wanted, but he'll do for me and for the majority of the world of Formula One as well. A very, very popular victory indeed for Rubens Barrichello. Worst day of the year yesterday for the Brazilian. His words, not mine. Slightly different today. Barrichello, you know, he'd retired 6 times here out of 7 races. And Rubens Barrichello in his 124th Grand Prix is a winner at last. We have plenty to talk about. A quite astonishing race. As Murray and Martin have been saying, Martin Brundle will be joining us in the studio. We'll have the views of Tony Jardine. We will hear from the top 3, and we hope to snatch a word with Jenson Button as well. Well done, Rubinho. We'll see you shortly.
It was a fantastic German Grand Prix. It's Rubens Barrichello, Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard. Rubens, you said yesterday that it was the worst day of the year. I expect today must be the best day of your life. From 18th place to your first win in 123 starts. How do you feel?
Well, I just feel great. I mean, it was. I mean, I hear the guys saying that the last lap when you're going to win, you know, is such a long lap, and you know, I had lost the taste almost because it was such a long time ago. So it was really the longest one, and I promise you that it was getting a bit more tricky because the rain was coming in separate places, and I was just thinking to myself, you know, that it has to be mine. I mean, yesterday was such a bad day, and it can be good. So let's make it as simple as possible. And I couldn't believe. I'm just I can't believe my eyes too.
Now, obviously, the race was won by your decision to stay out on the slick tyres, groove tyres at the end. Who made that decision?
Hey, I mean, we are a team. We are a big family, and Ross said Mika is coming, and I said we keep an eye and let's stay one lap more. And after that lap, he said, just keep on going, Rubens. You're gonna win if you keep that pace. So I mean, it was great because the slicks were doing really well on the straights and the 3 chicanes, but I think it was 7 or 6 laps to go. I flat spot the left front on the 3rd chicane because it was spitting a little bit. So it was worrying because I couldn't see the track very well. But you know, I paid the price, so it was great.
Now, you made a lot of positions up with a blistering first run to your first pit stop, but that included obviously that first corner incident where your teammate Michael was taken off. How did you see that first lap?
Well, to be honest with you, I only saw that Michael was out of the race when I got close to Pedro de la Rosa and Trulli, because then I started to count. I was too busy at that time. And then I just then realized that he wasn't on the track.
Rubens, thanks, mate. Congratulations. Mika, you managed to vault yourself from 4th to 1st at the start there. How did you make such a good start?
It was fantastic start. I have to admit, something like that doesn't happen often. I mean, certainly me and David, we do practice that a lot in the test days, but this was one of the starts what was definitely goes in record books in my career. I think thanks for the team. You know, it was also part of the team who created the tactic for the start. That way, I'm able to make a good start, and I knew that, you know, if I don't get in a good position in the first corner, then the life's gonna be very difficult after that. But it worked. Thanks.
You almost had the race won when at the beginning of the first safety car period, you came in the pits and David didn't. Now, whose call was that? Because in the past we've heard the man on pole position gets first call of pit stops.
Well, the team called me in, and I have to obviously follow that order, and the decision came to my favor. I still a little bit surprised, to be honest. I mean, it probably could do a little bit differently, but after all, you know, it was in my favor, and that's it, really.
Looking back now, do you think it was the right decision to change to wet tyres at the end of the race?
One sense, if you think about it, I could be on a barrier. If I would have kept the slicks, I would have go off. I mean, our car was a quick car today, but not easy to drive. So if we would have continued in slicks, our life would have been really, really difficult. So, other hand, you could say we had to be extremely happy about this result.
Mika, thank you and well done.
Thanks.
David, at the start, you made a very definite one move across Michael Schumacher. Was that revenge?
No, I just got too much wheel spin and no. And I knew I was making a bad start from when I went off the line, so I just wanted to try and make it obviously as difficult as we're allowed for someone to pass me. But in the end, I don't actually know how close anyone else was behind me. All I saw was Mika passing me.
How frustrated were you sitting behind the safety car, that first safety car, knowing everybody else had changed their tyres, you hadn't? It looked at that point like you'd be lucky to score any points, and that the team had called Mika in rather than you.
Well, that's maybe how it appears. In actual fact, it was just a little bit of confusion on my part. I was pitting that lap anyway, and I didn't hear the radio in the pit in the what do you call it? stadium. And then Mika pitted in front of me, and at that point I didn't know the safety car was out, so I thought there must be some confusion as to who's actually pitting. So that's why I continued on past, and then I realised the safety car was out. So it's just unfortunate, one of those days when just didn't quite work out. But equally, that could have been a big help had I stopped in that lap. But there you go. I'm still happy to be sitting here with points and getting closer to the championship leader.
You waited a couple of laps after Mika to change onto wets at the end of the race. Why was that? Because obviously Rubens was able to carry on the grooves with no problems.
Well, I think you're being too simplistic to say he was continuing with no problems. I'm sure from his point of view it was probably incredibly difficult, like it was for everyone else. I wanted to wait, like Ruben said earlier, to find out exactly what the lap time difference was. And then it just got to the point I made a decision just one corner before I got to the pit lane. So it was quite a late call, but I just thought, well, look, this is getting pretty wet here. It looked to me like the rain was flowing right down towards the chicanes. So I thought it might just be the way to go, because if you're only doing tyres, then obviously there's not as big a loss of time as if you're doing fuel as well. I don't know where I would have finished had I stayed on slicks. But certainly at that point when I pitted, I think I was in 5th place or 4th place, and I'm now 3rd. So it's a better for the championship the way it's finished out than the way it was running before the safety car. Because obviously I would have been maybe a little bit closer to Michael or equal with him, but slightly farther away from Mika.
Thank you, David. Well done. Rubens, you're now just 10 points behind championship leader Michael Schumacher. You're in 4th place, but do you feel you're now with a shout for the World Championship?
Hey, let's talk about this win. I mean, it's been a long time, and it's great to work with Ferrari. I mean, it's really, everybody is keeping saying number 1, number 2. It doesn't matter. I mean, they give me the car, and the car works perfect. I mean, I was lucky today that it was an accident on the first lap, and the strategy worked out. But it's let's just make some party tonight and enjoy the timing.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much indeed. And can I have a word now from Rubens and from Mika in your own language? Rubens, please.
Ja, Rubens Barrichello wil even niet praten over het wereldkampioenschap. Eerst maar eens genieten van deze overwinning. De eerste uit zijn loopbaan. En ja, die laatste ronde. Ze hadden hem wel eens gezegd van die duurt lang hoor, als je op het punt staat om een Grand Prix te winnen. En hij heeft het natuurlijk wel eens meegemaakt in andere klassen, maar hij duurde inderdaad erg lang. Ook al omdat het weer harder begon te regenen en de wagen toch wel zich zeer glibberig gedroeg op het asfalt. Maar hij bracht hem thuis de Ferrari en pakte de overwinning met de normale gegroefde banden en niet op regenbanden. Hakkinen die een bliksemstart had, van de 4e naar de 1e plek buitenom, was toch wel bij met de 2e plaats. Hij werd dus eerder binnengeroepen dan Coulthard, terwijl je normaal gesproken zou verwachten dat de man die op pole position staat, in dit geval Coulthard, het eerste recht zou hebben. Nou ja, Hakkinen zei er zelf niet zoveel over en die was alleen maar blij dat hij op dat moment binnen kon komen. Coulthard toch ook wel tevreden, want ja, als het gewoon een 1-2 was geworden met Hakkinen voor Coulthard, dan had hij ook nog Hakkinen voor zich gehad. En nu staan ze op gelijke hoogte op 2 punten achterstand van Michael Schumacher. En hij zei niet zo heel veel over die situatie. Hij hield het een beetje op een misverstand, dat hij het allemaal niet zo goed gehoord had op de radio. Maar ik denk dat er nog wel even over doorgepraat zal worden bij McLaren, die daar nu eigenlijk de lieveling is van een team. Coulthard of Hakkinen. Ik denk dat ik het antwoord wel weet. Ja, Jan?
Nou, ik denk dat natuurlijk weten we dat Hakkinen een van de favorieten is van Ron Dennis. Maar ik denk niet dat hier aan de orde was. Ik vond Coulthard redelijk oprecht toen hij zei van nou, ik denk dat het ook een beetje verwarring aan mijn kant was. Omdat hij zelf wou nog even uitblijven om te kijken wat het rondetijdenverschil was met Hakkinen en met Barrichello. Dus dat is begrijpelijk. Barrichello zei ook dat hij gewoon even wat langer uitbleef. En toen was het Ross Brawn die zei van nou, als je dit tempo kunt aanhouden, dan kun je gewoon uitblijven en de race winnen. Dus ja, ik denk dat beetje support is geweest. Wat Coulthard niet heeft gekregen. Als Coulthard verteld werd van nou, jouw rondetijden ten opzichte van Hakkinen en of Barrichello zijn goed genoeg om je positie te houden. Dan had Coulthard met het juiste advies dus ook waarschijnlijk nog een pitstop kunnen besparen.
Langzamerhand loopt de paddock leeg. We zagen Schumacher al naar huis gaan zonder punten vandaag. Maar in de wetenschap dat zijn teamgenoot wel won. Toen was het allemaal nog zonnig en ging de wave door het motordrome in afwachting van een Grand Prix die zich zeer spectaculair zou ontwikkelen. Hier zoeken de heren coureurs hun posities op de startopstelling. In aanwezigheid van de nodige mooie vrouwen, zoals gebruikelijk in de Formule 1. Met Häkkinen op de tweede rij, op de vierde positie. Dan let zo meteen op hem bij de start. Het gaat dan mis bij Jenson Button, die achteraan zal moeten starten als laatste. En dat toch ook nog vierde wordt. Echt waar. Maar kijk eens hoe mooi Häkkinen er buitenom komt. En dan het tikje van Schumacher. Let op. Pats, ja, duikt voor Schumacher. Fisichella kan nergens heen. Willy Weber grijpt naar zijn hoofd. Tot schikt ook. En dan de opmars van Rubens Barrichello. Begonnen als 18e aan de race. Vecht hij zich naar voren. Häkkinen voor Coulthard. Slaan een gaatje met Jarno Trulli. En Schumacher ligt eruit. Dat krijgen ze eventjes door. Barrichello heeft dan hier de La Rosa te pakken. En kijk eens hoe ze meeleven. Schumacher niet. Dan maar juichen voor Barrichello. Op dat moment reed hij al een geweldige race. Nog niet wetende wat er allemaal zou komen. En er zou nog veel meer komen in deze Grand Prix. Jarno Trulli achtervolgde Rubens Barrichello. Op de derde plaats. Eddie Jordan kijkt en ziet dan Barrichello pakt Jarno Trulli. Hij ligt dan derde. Heeft 15 plaatsen gewonnen. Het uitvallen van Johnny Herbert en dan deze meneer. Die een hoofdrol zal gaan vertolken op een manier die hij misschien niet in gedachten had. Want de safety car komt de baan op. Coulthard is daar het slachtoffer van. En dan glijdt en glibbert iedereen zo langzamerhand over de baan heen. Omdat het ook begint te regenen. Want kijk eens hier, Jean Alesi getorpedeerd. Uitgeschakeld. Ook Diniz ligt er dan uit. Dit zijn de eerste slachtoffers. En Alesi gooit met zijn helm weer de safety car in de baan. Daardoor. En dan vindt Coulthard zichzelf terug op de zesde positie. Daar gaat Alexander Wurz. En dan eens eventjes kijken. Wat gaat het weer doen? Ja, het gaat regenen. Häkkinen op dat moment aan de leiding. Hier het afscheid van Marc Gené in vuur en vlam. Dan Heinz-Harald Frenzy die wegvalt. Trulli krijgt later nog een stop-and-go penalty. Daar helaas Jos Verstappen. Op dat moment lag hij op de zevende plaats en had er misschien nog meer in gezeten. Button die grijpt Salo. Maar Barrichello wordt dan de winnaar van de grote prijs van Duitsland. En ook Michael Schumacher is daar blij mee. Knuffelt hier Jean Todt. Zo klinkt iemand die heel erg blij is. Ook de felicitaties. Mooi moment van Häkkinen links en Coulthard rechts. De knuffels van de grote Schumi. En laat de tranen dan maar komen. Winnaar van de grote prijs van Duitsland. Zijn eerste uit zijn loopbaan. Rubens Barrichello. En de champagne spuit vrolijk in het rond. Rubens op de schouders. En wat een Grand Prix hebben wij gezien. Jan, genoten? Vraagteken.
Absoluut, absoluut. Ik ging er helemaal vanuit dat het een spannende race zou worden. Maar dat je natuurlijk twee pacecar situaties krijgt, dat je regen erbij krijgt. En ja, dat Schumacher natuurlijk na 200 meter zoiets gaat overkomen, dat verwacht je natuurlijk helemaal niet. Maar ja, het kampioenschap is natuurlijk briljant voor de rest van het jaar.
Zeker wel. Onze volgende afspraak zal zijn in Hongarije, in Budapest. En wel op 11 augustus, dat is een vrijdag. En dan gaat het gewoon weer allemaal verder. Uitslag dus van deze Grand Prix nog even op kaart. Barrichello voor Häkkinen, Coulthard, Button, Salo en de La Rosa ook nog een puntje. Ik heb genoten, u thuis ongetwijfeld ook. En wij zien elkaar over 2 weken terug. Tot dan.
Well, basically it's put in the position with Jean Alesi, and on the braking I think he lost the control a bit of the car and hit the side of my car, and that's it.
Very, very tricky conditions out there. Were you hoping for a good finish today?
Yeah, it would be very nice, but also very unlucky because when I pit was 1 lap before the safety car, and then everybody else pit with the safety car, basically got a free pit stop, and then I lost all the positions.
Better luck in Hungary for you, and thank you.
There we are, the enduring image of the German Grand Prix. Rubens Barrichello, the Brazilian, just about the most emotional winner we have seen up there. His first Grand Prix victory at last. A reward for patience and a fair amount of bravery as well. Rubens Barrichello electing to stay out and triumphing as well when he started way back down the grid. Here's the press conference.
Drivers were fantastic.
Championship leader.
Got a feeling that that one will run and run. Tony, what's your spin on that? Hakkinen saying that it definitely favoured him, and David Coulthard being, well, diplomatic, I think.
I think he was being diplomatic. I mean, we have to look at it that McLaren have missed the chance of having one of their two drivers leading the Drivers' World Championship today. They're both behind. I find it amazing that Michael Schumacher is still leading the World Championship for drivers. It's great for the championship. It's not great for David Coulthard. And it's okay for Hakkinen because he's closed right up, you know, equal with David. But I mean, I am sure that David will go back to motorhome afterwards and say, why couldn't I come in at the same time? Why couldn't I have queued up? Because, and the way he came back, rejoining sixth, to get up to third like he did was a great effort from Coulthard.
What's your spin on it?
I think had David felt he'd been disadvantaged, he would have said so. I think we've got to take him at face value. He says, look, there was a communication error and I should have come in and I didn't do so. Because I couldn't hear properly, and then Mika came in, and I'm surprised they didn't know the safety car was out. McLaren have a dedicated team of people on the radio system, and I don't know why, but even I remember when I was driving there back in '94, it never seemed to work very well. If David's being diplomatic, then I'm surprised, because I think he would say something, and we have to take him at face value on that.
Okay. It's a hard old world, F1, isn't it? But even hard bit an old driver like you must have felt a bit of sentiment for your former teammate, Rubens Barrichello.
I was delighted for him, really was. I mean, Rubens matured through that year with, 2 years with Stewart. I think Jackie Stewart was a big calming influence on him, and he really matured into a top Grand Prix driver. Some of his performances early on this season I thought were not as good as I expected them to be. Remember, Michael lapped him once and virtually lapped him another time in Imola, and Rubens just didn't seem to be on it at all. But what thrills me about today for Rubens is he won the race. He went and took the race. He didn't luck into it. He didn't reverse into it, inherit the lead or whatever. He went out and won that Grand Prix from 18th on the grid. I mean, I'm not surprised he was howling his eyes out on the grid. I'd have done the same. On the podium, I'd have done the same thing.
Absolutely. OK, thanks for the moment. We will be right back to look at some of the key moments of a fascinating German Grand Prix. Quite typically, I've just heard that Rubens Barrichello has dedicated his fantastic victory here to Ayrton Senna. Let's have a look at the start, shall we? It's only Rubens not involved, but another Ferrari was around there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a revenge by David Coulthard, but he did the one move and he immediately switched sides when Coulthard went across him and went to the outside of the track, to the racing line where there was more grip. Right behind him was Fisichella, and Fisichella had nowhere to go. You know, there's no way the guy could slow down, in my opinion, anyway. Well, not according, OK, he should have seen me, he should have slowed down. But the fact is that Schumacher then came right across in front of Fisichella. And you see again here, because Schumacher's already had to move, here's Giancarlo, hard on the brakes, taps him there, and of course the inevitable happens, and off he goes. But Giancarlo Fisichella, who's had a great finishing this record this year, straight in there, and the wheel coming off and so on. You can see the rear view of it. Now look at Hakkinen, makes a wonderful stop, but look at the gap he's got there as David goes across to protect, and that's perfectly legitimate with the one move. And I thought that was a fabulous move by David Coulthard, but it sacrificed a little bit of timing for him while he was concentrating on doing that, and off Hakkinen goes into that gap.
Martin, we're used to pitch invasions and things like that and the odd streaker here and there in other sports, but loonies on the circuit in motor racing is a new one on me anyway.
Well, he could have killed himself, almost certainly would kill a driver if he ran into him. I mean, I guess we'll try and get this guy in as our studio guest in Budapest or something and find out what he's up to.
I don't think we'll bother,
I think he's had a few too many Kleiners beers or something, but that is just crazy. It's bizarre. I've never seen that before. The stewards or the race director, Charlie Whiting, did the only thing he could, pull out the safety car and clear the nutter out of the way.
Changed the whole race though, didn't it?
It did change the whole race. There'll be a few people wondering if he was working for Ferrari or something, or if he's Brazilian in nationality. But it's just bizarre, and what can you do about it? I mean, you can't close the place down and have it like being inside a prison here.
Yeah. Jim, I was just going to say very quickly there, why some students come out and talk to him or rugby tackle him or get him off, because as Martin said, he could have thrown himself under a car.
I'm not sure with all those cars flashing around, Tony. Anyway, we're going to have a word now with, apart from Rubens Barrichello, it has to be man of the race, isn't he? Jenson Button, here he is, worked his way right the way through the field, and he's chatting now to Louise.
Jenson, brilliant result for you, but I'm going to take you back to the beginning first of all, the bit that didn't go quite so well.
Not really. I stalled on the grid just as the lights were coming on, the red lights, going off for the formation lap. The engine cut out, so a bit of a mad panic with all the mechanics and everything, and they got me going. And I had to start in 23rd position, so it was a bit of a shame, but it ended up well, so I think I might start from the back next time, from choice more than not very good qualifying. So we're very happy. Obviously the team did an excellent job in the pit stops, and hopefully we can repeat this again.
His most successful ever drive. My guess he'll be in the Benetton next season. That's how it looks now. Then just a couple of points in it. 54 apiece to Coulthard and Hakkinen, 2 behind Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello moving up to within 10 points of the leader. And there's the constructors with McLaren. Remember, they lost those 10 points, so 4 now behind Ferrari, BMW and Benetton, 3rd and 4th. Headbanger and a plastic Mac. What do we call the bloke? Loony, nutter, headbanger and a plastic Mac. What else? What are our other contributions?
Suffragette.
to the understanding of the sort of mentally sick.
Can you imagine if it was an Englishman and how the French would have reported it? I don't think there should be any sympathy.
What are you on about, rugby tackling? I mean, you were going to nip out in front of the old bloody McLaren and rugby tackling.
No, I said before that, I said go out and talk to him and then rugby tackle him gently.
He might have had a gun.
Oh yeah, and if he'd walked in front of a car, which is what I'm about to say, and a driver had lost its head.
Just because you're personally acquainted with the bloke.
I said, why don't someone frigging do something?
Yes, Keithy, speak a bit of sense to me.
No. We should just be happy he kept his clothes on.
Oh dear. 11 finish. Barrichello wins at last after 124 races. Tears on the bloody dead again, the victory too. Do you want to see some VTs teach?
Sure, that'd be great.
Including the man you have this great affinity with.
All right.
I've seen you wearing one of them Macs, Teach, actually.
Pack-a-Mac, they used to be called.
It's infinitely superior to that crumpled up load of old nonsense that you insist on carrying around with you that my dustman threw away 2 years ago.
Michael, Giancarlo Fisichella seems to blame you. How did you see the accident? Michael, Giancarlo blamed you for this accident. How do you see it?
Alex Furt's a spectacular exit from German Grand Prix. What happened there?
I had a complete gearbox failure. The gearbox just locked up as I wanted to shift up, and the rear locked, so I came on the grass and spun off because any.
Fred's an amazing race. What was it that took you out in the end?
Well, I don't know what happened, but my gearbox went up and down, and my electrical part of the car was playing nuts. I don't know what happened, but I couldn't shift up and couldn't go on a power. Nothing happened.
How are the conditions out there at the moment?
Well, outside the stadium was pretty dry still. Inside the stadium was very slippery.
Bad luck, but great drive. Thanks.
That was unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Great drive.
Mika and truly going to the pits, I thought to myself, maybe it's not the right time because the track is still dry. So let's, Ross, I said, Ross, give me the update and tell me what Mika is, what time he's doing. And he said, Rubens, if you can keep the car on the track and the pace you're going, you're going to win the race. And that was marvelous. That was the best feeling I ever had. My last win was 91 in Donington with a Formula 3 car, and it just feels so good. I mean, it took so long for that last lap.
Michael, a very emotional moment for you and Rubens. He's done you a favour, but he's driven absolutely magnificently today, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, to be in this condition, to be out with slicks and drive as fast as the rest with the rain tyres.
I bet you didn't think you'd be laughing at the end of this race when you went out, did you?
No, I was close to tears and throw my helmet through the corners, but obviously now he made up quite a lot of this.
And the championship begins here again?
It looks like, yes. We have to start again from zero.
I guess it's helped us the fact that Michael hasn't scored. Rubens has moved back into the frame. Mick and I are all square. It's closer now than it has been all year. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen, but you know, in terms of points, you could say it's an opportunity missed, but I think when you have safety cars and raining, it becomes a lottery, and sometimes it can work for you and sometimes you can get nothing out of it. So I think 10 points for the team overall. We can't be too disappointed.
Tell us about the earlier stop when both of your cars came into the pit lane. What was going on there? Who was making decisions?
Well, the problem was we both wanted to stop, and we wanted to stop in sequence, and then we realised that calculating the timing, that probably wasn't going to be the right thing to do. It was a little bit disorganised for a short period of time. We got the tyres crossed over, but it worked out in the end.
I mean, people don't realise how fast we are and how dangerous this sport is. And the guy was on the left, then a couple of laps later he was on the right, so he crossed the track. And when I saw him, I immediately thought, yeah, the safety car is going to go out because he's risking his life and our life. So it was a very, very good decision.
Were you happy with the timing of your tyre changes?
Oh, definitely. I made a good job of that because it's very, very difficult to know because at the back of the circuit it was dry and here it was wet. So it was a good decision on their part, and just had to pick off a few people to come in fourth. I thought I was fifth myself, but happy to be fourth.
Well, despite his fourth blank in 5 races, Michael Schumacher stays top, but only 2 points ahead of the McLaren hunters, Coulthard and Häkkinen. Barrichello still fourth. The other places are unchanged. In the constructors, Ferrari and McLaren both scoring 10 points. As you were then for the big two, Button with 3 for Williams, who stay third. No improvement for Benetton, BAR or Jordan. Heck of a racer, Tony Jardine, and a heck of a start, but not for Michael Schumacher.
No, it wasn't. I mean, David Coulthard meted out the treatment to Michael Schumacher, which he had all that was going on. This huge gap opened up. Here it is again. Schumacher's come from the inside to the outside. Fisichella nowhere to go, about to have a big accident. Luckily, the strength of the Grand Prix cars, the Benetton in particular, look at that front left wheel going off. Now, look at the gap that opened out while David Coulthard was concentrating on blocking his rival. Ironically, his other rival, his own teammate, says, "Thank you very much. There's a big pathway to the lead of the race."
Don't blame me, says Michael Schumacher. He can't be serious.
No, he can't be serious there. I can't see that. You know, you can't get out of the way. It's your duty to try and brake. But if someone comes straight in front of you like that and you're up to 160 miles an hour, it's a little bit difficult, I think.
Man of the day here, Rubens Barrichello, starting back in 18th after a dreadful qualifying session and carving his way through the field in great fashion.
Superb. I mean, he is a wonderful racing driver. Look at this early on. There he goes past Zonta, who was about to take Villeneuve just after that. But wet or dry here, he's been superb. He's been very, very brave. There he is going past Johnny Herbert, and other people were on 2 stoppers as well. Although he had a slightly lighter fuel load, he attacked from the beginning. There he's going past Pedro de la Rosa into 4th place. It's a superb performance. A smooth driver like this, there he closed in on Jarno Trulli and got into 3rd place. Braved it out, toughed it out there on the inside, and the Ferrari was in good shape, but Rubens was equal to everybody. He was superb today.
Tony, I hate giving publicity to people who disrupt sporting events, but this unemployed Frenchman from Limoges, who apparently was sacked by Mercedes a few years ago, not much chance of them giving him his job back.
Yeah,
had a real sort of factor in this race.
Makes me very angry. I mean, this is like suffragette. This is Emily Pankhurst stuff. Could he have, you know, stood in front of a car? He could have done. Nobody came out to try and talk to the guy or try and tether him, calm him, then, you know, take him to the ground or something. There was a risk that he genuinely could have been run over. In 1977, Tom Price hit a marshal. Tom Price was killed, and so was the marshal. The car would have hit that guy at 200 miles an hour.
David Coulthard might have wanted to extract his own revenge on that person, because what happened after the guy went on the track had a crucial bearing on the outcome of the German Grand Prix.
The safety car had to come out, and that was absolutely the right thing to do. As I said, I felt some marshals could have come out and tried to talk to the guy and at least restrain him. But then, Häkkinen, because he was the lead in the first car, the other cars that had come in, he'd already come in for his pit stop. David Coulthard had to wait while the safety car was going around. He was in danger of falling really far back, perhaps even to the back of the crocodile tail of cars, but he managed to eventually get back out there. Great work by McLaren crew, get to 6th. There are 2 sets of refueling equipment. There are not 2 sets of mechanics, so they've perhaps told him to wait, even though perhaps he wanted to come in and queue up and not lose so many places.
Spectacular moments. I want to look at one of them. Deniz and Alesi with tyres flying around and all sorts.
Well, the interesting thing here is that Deniz has been blamed for putting Fisichella off at the start in Austria with a mad move. He definitely put Alesi out here, and the veteran there, the veteran Frenchman, was lucky to survive a big crash. Now, this is not Zonta's fault. Zonta had gone on the inside to try and get past Villeneuve. Villeneuve said, "I'm not having it." Went outside him, it was damp on the curbs, and Villeneuve dropped down to 8th place because of that.
Well, next we go to Hungary, live qualifying, 11:30 on the Saturday. The race live at 12:15 and highlights later on that night. Jenson Button, I understand, will be on his way to Benetton next season. He had a terrific race here today, but Hockenheim 2000 will be remembered as Rubinho's day. Good night.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by livesport365.com is www.itv-f1.com.
Ed ecco la classifica aggiornata del campionato 2000. Il ferrarista Michael Schumacher guida sempre con 56 punti. A 2 punti David Coulthard e Mika Häkkinen della McLaren. A 10 punti con 46 punti Rubens Barrichello. Poi Giancarlo Fisichella, il primo italiano con 18 punti. Ralf Schumacher su Williams 14 punti. Jacques Villeneuve 11 punti. Il giovanissimo Jenson Button 8 punti, poi l'altro italiano Jarno Trulli 6 punti, come Mika Salo 6 punti, poi Frenzen, l'altro pilota della Jordan 5 punti, quindi Eddie Irvine su Jaguar 3 punti, poi i due piloti dell'Arros, Verstappen e Della Rosa con 2 punti, fanalino di coda Riccardo Zonta della Bar con 1 punto. Passiamo ora alla classifica dei costruttori. La Ferrari guida con 102 punti, la McLaren a 98, poi la Williams a 22, quindi la Benetton a 18, la Bar a 12, la Jordan con 11 punti, quindi Sauber 6 punti, Arrows 4 punti, chiude la Jaguar con 3 punti.
She turned me to straw.